Chapter 85. Outside the mysterious yellow treasure vault. While everyone was madly rushing into the mysterious yellow treasure vault, no one noticed that just after they rushed in, the space outside the mysterious yellow treasure vault suddenly fluctuated slightly, and then a figure quietly appeared. This figure was Chen Hao, who had sneaked under the ancient city for a whole month. 1 month, for a whole month, Chen Hao could be said to have paid a price that ordinary people could not imagine. Now that he thought about it, Chen Hao felt a sense of relief and a little fear. Fortunately, he came out alive. After obtaining the most precious thing in the mysterious yellow ancient city, he was teleported out of the underground palace by a mysterious array and arrived outside the mysterious yellow treasure vault. The mysterious yellow treasure vault? Chen Hao's dark eyes flashed with a faint 7-colored light, and his handsome face shone with a trace of excitement as he said in his mind, "Where are Xiaowu and Xiaoma? Guide me." But the treasure-hunting sword spirit's voice carried a trace of excitement and said in Chen Hao's mind. This time, Chen Hao's harvest was undoubtedly huge, but the treasure-hunting sword spirit's harvest was not small either. At least after his divine soul absorbed the residual world energy underground, his spirit was condensed and strengthened by more than 100 times. With the treasure-hunting sword spirit's words, suddenly a fluctuation similar to the time when he found the elixir clearly appeared in Chen Hao's mind. Chen Hao's figure flickered and suddenly rushed to the north gate of the treasure vault as fast as lightning. Whoosh whoosh. Although Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui were bathed in the 7-colored light and only had more than half an hour to heal, they had already recovered to their peak state. The moment the two of them rushed into the treasury, they were similarly incomparably shocked. However, they did not delay and used their fastest speed to choose a direction and rushed over like lightning. With such a huge space, even if they were not strong, they would most likely be able to obtain a great harvest. After a while, when they saw that the crowd had chosen a small palace and started to break down the doors, the two of them didn't get greedy and continued to go deeper. They also arrived in front of a small palace. There were 2 huge stone doors, emitting a cold aura. In the end, the two of them chose to enter through the north gate. The entire area seemed to be shrouded in mist and ice. Clearly, the entire treasury was divided according to the energy pattern of the 5 elements. What a powerful restriction. Everyone, let's work together to break it. Hearing loud shouts from afar, Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui knew that the huge stone door in front of them definitely couldn't be opened that easily. But what made the two of them pleasantly surprised was that when Helian Wuzi brandished her slender jade-like palm, gathered all of her strength, and slammed her palm onto the stone door, there was actually a loud rumbling sound, and the door was easily broken open. A thick and cold heaven and earth spiritual chi immediately rushed towards him. The aura of black ice chi? Helian Wuzi's mind trembled slightly, and she immediately took the lead to rush in. What is this? What made Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui, who was shivering from head to toe, surprised was that the floor of this small palace was actually covered with mysterious runes. In the middle of the runes, there were 8 ice crystal-like balls that emitted traces of blue light, and were only the size of dates. The 8 balls were arranged in a very regular circle, and in the middle of them hung an ice-blue, jade-like object. What a powerful energy fluctuation! Mo Yui, who was shivering from head to toe from the cold, said with a trace of surprise and excitement. Ever since Chen Hao reminded him to resist the cold aura, no matter how cold it was, this guy didn't use any elemental power to resist anymore. It should be a very high-grade elixir. Helian Wuzi also said excitedly. The two of them stared fixedly at the elixir and jade-like objects that were emitting powerful energy fluctuations. They almost didn't dare to believe that such a small palace that was so easily broken open actually had such precious things. Although the two of them didn't know what the balls and jade-like objects were, they knew that their value was definitely higher than a level 6 elixir. Seeing such precious things for the first time, how could the two of them not be shocked? Bang bang bang. Quick, the door is open. At this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps and voices could be heard, waking up the 2 people who were still in shock. Quickly put them away, someone's coming. Mo Yui said with a trace of panic. Helian Wuzi, who was in front, immediately put the 8 elixirs and jade-like objects into her bosom. When Helly and Woozy just put them away, a few people had already rushed in. After seeing Mo Yui and Helly and Woozy, the youth in the front immediately frowned. Then, his face flashed with a trace of excitement and arrogance and said, "You two, hand over the treasures you've collected." The two of them made a total of 4 people. The leader's body flashed with boundless brown elemental power. Clearly, he was a level 4 martial king or higher. The other 3 people's auras were slightly weaker, but clearly, they were also level 3 martial kings. As the leader spoke, the other 3 people already blocked the entrance of the palace. "This is the stone door that we broke open, why should we give it to you?" Mo Yui immediately said coldly. "But, because we're stronger than you. The strong are respected. Our Royal New Show Hall has never prohibited fighting during the trials. If you're strong enough, of course it's yours. But, it's ours now. Don't waste time, obediently hand it over." Boom, boom. Helly and Woozy and Mo Yui looked at each other and crazily gathered their auras at the same time. In an instant, Helly and Woozy's body emitted an extremely cold elemental power fluctuation, while Mo Yui's aura was like an incomparably sharp sword. "HM?" Seeing the two's appearance, the youth in the front frowned slightly. Earlier, he had already sensed that the 2 people in front of him were covered in dirt and their auras were far weaker than theirs. But at this moment, after the 2 burst out without holding back, his gaze focused. Immediately, he carefully looked at Helly and Woozy and said, "You two are Helly and Woozy and Mo Yui personally selected by President Fang Yuan of Lan Tsong Province?" Back then, Chen Hao, Helly and Woozy, and Mo Yui were the last to choose their palaces, and Huang Qi had even specially introduced them. Thus, the disciples of the 3 palaces basically all knew Helly and Woozy. If not for Helly and Woozy's current appearance being so terrible, perhaps everyone would have recognized her. "So what if we are? So what if we aren't?" Mo Yui coldly said. "Hee, fighting with a beauty is indeed not good. But, you're clearly a dish that I can't eat. It doesn't matter. Our new show hall has never prohibited fighting." As the leader spoke, a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes and he coldly said, "Close the door." The other 3 immediately closed the stone door as fast as lightning. At this moment, that guy continued, "Even if we kill you, no one will know. It seems like you have to die too. Helly and Woozy, although snatching your things doesn't violate the rules of the new show hall, you're now a famous beauty in our new show hall. How many people are drooling over you? If you become some chief disciple's woman in the future, we won't be able to bear the consequences. Don't worry, I'll very gently kill. Shameless. Fight it out with them." Helly and Woozy and Mo Yui attacked almost at the same time. Even they didn't expect the other party to be so vicious and vicious. Especially Helly and Woozy, who was both ashamed and furious. Femme fatale? Was she really the femme fatale mentioned by Chen Hao? Why didn't she meet any good people? If she was just an ordinary-looking girl, they would at most snatch her things and wouldn't be so ruthless. Berserk ice energy and sharp sword light attacked these 4 shameless people as fast as lightning. So what if they were 3rd grade and 4th grade martial kings? They originally didn't intend to give in. At this moment, not only did these 4 people want to snatch the treasure, they also wanted to kill them. Other than fighting with their lives, what else could they do? Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, Helly and Woozy and Mo Yui were surrounded by the 4 people and fought together. Although the 2 of them had undergone Chen Hao's special training and their battle strength had increased tremendously, and they also had the ability to challenge those of a higher level, facing 4 experts who were 2 or even 3 grades higher than them, they were completely suppressed in an instant. The feeling of approaching death enveloped the 2 of them. P.S. Please add, recommend, thank you. Thank you to yesterday's passionate love carrot. A dream back to old scenes, Sakura dance. A startling image comes in a dream is already in a dream, for their support. Chapter 86. Helly and Woozy's extremely cold and delicate shouts continued. Mo Yui's low and deep roars were like that of a ferocious beast. Although the 2 of them were already completely suppressed, Their gazes became more and more cold and fierce. Their fighting spirit also became stronger and stronger. This made the four people who were clearly stronger than the two of them feel extremely shocked. Hellion Woozi's graceful and exquisite body was like a weapon from head to toe. She was incomparably fierce and had no scruples at all. She was completely fighting without regard for her life. Mouyui's sword light was direct, violent and fierce. He actually completely gave up on defense and only attacked. Every sword was aimed at the vital points. The two of them looked like they were possessed by a demon. A battle is a battle. At any moment, you have to maintain the calmest mind. In the shortest time, you have to make the most accurate judgment and launch the most appropriate attack. The more dangerous the situation, the calmer you have to be. There are no rules in a battle. There are only victory and defeat and life and death. Many people don't have the courage to try and also won't think of such a method. I don't want you to try it easily, but you have to have this courage and thinking. Especially when facing a life and death situation, you have to have the courage to cut off your wrist. Using small to win big is success. It may seem insignificant, but this glimmer of hope may be your chance of survival. In front of absolute power, everything is fleeting clouds. But in front of similar power, skill can allow you to overcome 1,000 caddies with little effort. Not only do you have to get used to my whimsical and even shameless way of attacking, you also have to learn it. Any weakness of human nature can be exploited to the extreme. The unreasonable are afraid of the reckless. The reckless are afraid of the reckless. Pay attention to momentum. At any time, you can't lose momentum. When you risk your life, spirit to suppress the opponent's momentum, you will discover that there is an unexpected effect. The enemy is just a paper tiger. No one knew that at this very moment, Hellion Woozi and Moue, these two people, who had once enjoyed Shinhao's cruel and torturous special training for more than a month, finally displayed strength that completely surpassed their realm. Chen Hao repeatedly emphasized the training content to them. It was as if it was ringing in their minds all the time. It made the two of them forget about life and death, forget about honor and disgrace. There was only one obsession in their hearts, and that was to defeat the vicious villain in front of them. This was their only chance of survival. Bang! A rank 3 Martial King's berserk origin power landed squarely on Mouyui's shoulder. In an instant, Moue was sent flying like a kite with its string cut. However, the instant Moue was sent flying, scarlet blood shot out from his throat under the terrified gaze of that rank 3 martial monarch. A swordsman never leaves his sword, but Moue forcibly used his body to bear the force of the opponent's palm, and threw out the sword that he used as a perfect lover, cutting the opponent's throat in one strike. Roar! When Moue fiercely hit the wall and fell to the ground, he actually let out a beast-like roar. He completely disregarded the fact that he could no longer lift his body and crazily rushed up again. Fourth brother! The other three could never have imagined that one of them would actually die. They had died at the hands of 2 rank 1 martial monarchs. At this moment, while they were terrified, they were also completely enraged. Especially the rank 4 martial monarch in the lead. In an instant, he raised his origin power to the limit. The resplendent brown light turned into countless terrifying palm images, fiercely slapping towards Moue, who was charging at him like a wild beast. Little Mo! Hellion Woozi instantly cried out. She was very clear why Moue was so crazy just now. Because if Moue had not suddenly attacked at all costs, the one who would have been seriously injured or even killed would have been Hellion Woozi. And now, Moue was crazily rushing over again, also to help her out of this situation. Die. All of you must die. Following the rank 4 martial monarch's angry roar, Hellion Woozi's eyes widened in fright. She even forgot about the 2 people who were attacking her. Her expression was lifeless. She knew that for her sake, Moue was probably, it was over. Boom. Suddenly, at this moment, a terrifying roar came from the stone door that had been closed. Rubble flew everywhere as a figure rushed in like lightning and blocked in front of Moue, sending out a palm strike. At the same time, Moue's crazily rushing figure seemed to have crashed into layers of waves, causing him to be unable to release any power and was forced to stop. What shocked him was that the power did not harm him in the slightest. Idiot dodge. A light shout came from that figure's mouth. At the same time, a swift and fierce blade light suddenly shot out from his hand like lightning. No one could see his movements clearly. Boom. Just as the incoming person's palm power collided with the rank 4 martial monarch's attack, that swift and fierce blade light streaked across the sky, leaving behind a beautiful afterimage, attacking the other two people who were attacking Hellion Woozy. Poo-pew! 2 spurts of blood splashed out. And that rank 4 martial monarch was like a kite with a broken string, flying out with a speed even faster than Mou's. Before he even hit the wall, that cold blade light seemed to be alive. Agile, faintly discernible, but as fast as lightning, it strangely turned in the air and once again slashed across the rank 4 martial monarch's throat. Everything was like lightning sparks. That shout of "idiot, dodge" made the dazed Hellion Woozy float to the side without any hesitation. When her footsteps stopped, the place where she was originally standing already resounded with a violent explosion of origin power. But everything ended here. The battle situation changed in an instant. Are you stupid? What did I say to you? Being stupid and distracted in the middle of a battle? How many lives do you have? Chen Hao scolded as he pointed at Hellion Woozy, whose expression was full of surprise and excitement. Just as he finished scolding, he turned to look at Moue. Are you an idiot? I said to let you know how to injure yourself, but I didn't say to use death to kill the enemy. You rushing like this, is it to save her? Look at her stupid and idiotic appearance. Boss. Moue acted as if he didn't hear Chen Hao's scolding. His expression was emotional as he looked at Chen Hao, who was like an immortal flying from the heavens, who arrived just in time before he died. Hellion Woozy opened her mouth to speak. What about me? Chen Hao seemed to be very angry. His eyes were full of anger as he looked at the two people. But looking at Hellion Woozy's black face, which was about to cry, he didn't continue scolding. After a slight pause, he said, "Come with me." Chen Hao grabbed Hellion Woozy with one hand and carried the seriously injured Moue with the other. He rushed out of the palace as fast as lightning. A life for a life. This was the rule of the Royal New Show Hall. Even if Chen Hao and the other two were acting in self-defense, it would still be troublesome if they were discovered. Moreover, they couldn't explain it clearly. Hellion Woozy was pulled by Chen Hao. She didn't need to use her own strength, nor did she have time to use her strength. She felt as if she had turned into a cool breeze. Her speed was astonishing, but she was graceful and silent. Her beautiful eyes contained a trace of sparkling and translucent light. She stared at the figure slightly in front of her. Her heart was filled with grievance, gratitude, and surprise. She hadn't seen him for a month, and his strength had actually increased to such a level. A 4th-grade martial emperor was directly sent flying by him. Moreover, he used that strange and stunning blade strike. It was as if it was easier than killing chickens, and he directly took care of the 3 strong enemies who were about to take her and Moue's lives, and Moue, who was held horizontally by Chen Hao, was even more shocked, happy, and ashamed. He was shocked that his boss's strength had actually become so valiant. He was happy that a vigorous energy, which was completely different from Yuanli, was pouring into his dantian from Chen Hao's palm. He was ashamed that he didn't do it well enough. P.S. Brothers and sisters who have finished reading, please help to recommend this to your collection. Thank you. Chapter 87. Men die for wealth, birds die for food. If those 4 fellows only wanted to steal things, then it would have been fine. But because they were afraid of Hellion Woozy's revenge after climbing up to a higher branch, they wanted to kill her to silence her. But in the end, at the moment when they were about to succeed, they didn't even know what was going on and died without knowing who killed them. Chen Hao brought Hellion Woozy and Moue. Like a ghost, they quickly distanced themselves from that troublesome place. After confirming that they weren't discovered by anyone, his taut face finally relaxed. He found a secluded corner and let out a long sigh of relief. He released the 2 of them. With a cold face, he unquestionably said, "Sit cross-legged. I'll help you heal your injuries." As he spoke, Chen Hao stretched out his hands and pressed on Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui's vital points. Vigorous and majestic Yuan power seemed to contain a trace of strange energy, and it surged into the two people's bodies. Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui wanted to say something, but they could only shut their mouths. A trace of gratitude flashed in their eyes and they slowly closed their eyes. They knew very well how precious time was now. When the black-yellow treasure house opened, who wasn't desperately searching for treasures? But Chen Hao didn't even frown and used his own Yuan power to help them heal their injuries. What shocked the two of them even more was that under the control of Chen Hao's origin energy that contained a strange energy, the two of them noticed that their injuries were actually recovering at an extremely shocking speed, and it was a few times better than the effects of the rainbow-colored light from before. Let's go! In a short 10 minutes, Helian Wuzi, who was lightly injured, had completely recovered. Mo Yui, except for the bone fracture in his left shoulder, had basically recovered. At least his movement was no longer hindered. At this moment, Chen Hao let go of the two people and said directly. Although the two people had a lot of questions, they knew that this wasn't the time to ask. Plundering the treasures was the most important thing. Bang bang bang, this is ours, who dares to snatch it? Roar! The sound of chaos could be heard everywhere. People were fighting with each other, and people were fighting with beasts. Because of the discovery of the treasures, it completely intensified and broke out. Small teams of similar strength fought until their heads bled. Crazy and chaotic. With such a huge treasury and countless palaces, it was reasonable for everyone to be busy with their own business and make a fortune. There was no reason for them to start fighting over the treasures before the doors of many palaces were even broken open. The reason was simple. The gates of these palaces all contained extremely powerful restrictions. Breaking the restrictions seemed to require a lot of strength and luck, so many people had no choice but to team up temporarily. When they discovered that someone had broken into the palaces, they would rush in like a swarm of bees. It was also because of this reason that Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui were robbed. Passing through the noisy crowd, Chen Hao led the two of them straight into the depths. Just a little deeper, it's not too far away. In Chen Hao's mind, treasure-hunting sword spirit, whose soul had been greatly restored, did not completely conceal itself. Instead, it occasionally spoke in Chen Hao's mind. He sensed the location of the palace with greater fluctuations and guided Chen Hao. Although the black-yellow treasury was nothing compared to the treasury that treasure-hunting sword spirit had seen before, it was different now. The master had become Chen Hao, a brat who had just made his debut. It could be said that he was poor. This mysterious yellow treasure vault was undoubtedly an incomparably huge fortune. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Chen Hao finally brought the two of them no longer deeper and came to the door of a huge palace. As they approached the door, Mo Yui and Helian Wuzi discovered that this door was actually a blue crystal that emitted a cold light. It was obviously much stronger than the door they broke open. There was no need to guess. There must be more treasures inside, and they must be stronger. Chen Hao stopped, and his eyes shone with a bright light. He stared for a moment, and then he exhaled and slapped a mysterious rune on the giant door. Bang! Streaks of icy blue light shone from the door. Chen Hao's figure retreated rapidly, but he suddenly closed in again and continuously struck out with his palms. Bang bang bang! When Chen Hao slapped the ninth palm, the icy blue light emitted by the rune became incomparably strong and began to tremble violently. Finally, with a kacha sound, it burst open. Rumble! Following the explosion of the rune, the thick and heavy ice crystal door finally slowly opened. A strong energy fluctuation suddenly rushed out. Just this aura alone made Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui shocked. Let's go! Chen Hao stepped in, and it was as if he had entered a world of ice crystals. Inside the palace, icy blue light was emitted everywhere. The four walls, the roof, and the floor were covered with all kinds of mysterious runes. There were hundreds of jujube-sized balls. Some were icy blue and crystal clear, some were lighter in color, and there were faint ripples of water. There were also some that contained a grayish smoke-like energy fluctuation. Each of them was fixed at the core of the rune. And in the center of the palace, there was a fist-sized emerald green ball floating in the air, emitting a blurred and dreamy light. Quickly collect it. Water, ice, and fog energy condensed into elixirs. The water crystal in the middle is priceless. The treasure-hunting sword spirit said excitedly in Chen Hao's mind. Quickly collect it. Chen Hao immediately said to Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui. As he spoke, he took the lead and activated an invisible mental strength between his eyebrows. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the three figures flashed quickly and collected the elixirs one by one. In just a few breaths' time, they had collected all the elixirs. Boss, 18 elixirs. 26 elixirs. A total of 108 elixirs and 1 water crystal. At this time, Chen Hao's mouth revealed an excited smile and said, "Collect them all first, let's go." The three of them moved at lightning speed. Under Chen Hao's strange and powerful energy, the doors didn't pose any difficulty at all. They began to loot the treasury as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Moreover, Chen Hao seemed to know which palace had the highest value. Every time, he would go straight to the main palace. There were even some palaces that seemed huge, but he didn't stop at all. As the harvest increased, Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui's eyes were filled with excitement. The bags made of special materials that they received from the Royal New Show Hall gradually bulged up. This made the two excited people worried like nouveau riche. Even when they were running, they covered their bags as if they were afraid that someone would find them and rob them. Bang, bang, bang. How can this seal be so powerful? While Chen Hao and the others were crazily plundering, at the core of the mysterious yellow treasury, there was a huge palace that looked like the entire mysterious yellow treasury. It had 5 doors, and anyone could see that this was the most important part of the mysterious yellow treasury. After entering the mysterious yellow treasury, they didn't stop at all. Zhao Yunfei, Dongfang Jun, Bailey Yen, and Zhuge Qingyun, who rushed over, were burning with anxiety. With the strength of the 4, naturally, no one dared to compete with them for the 5 elements' spiritual roots. What made the 4 even happier was that even some powerful demonic beasts didn't come over. However, at this moment, an entire hour had passed. The 4 martial emperors and their followers had used all their strength, but they were unable to break open the door to the core palace. Even Zhao Yunfei's group of martial emperors could not do it. They felt as if they could not even budge the door a little bit, thinking about how the others were harvesting the treasures while they still didn't get anything. Who wouldn't be anxious? What was going on? P.S. If you have finished reading, please help me recommend this. Thank you. Thank you for yesterday's passionate love carrot. Tomorrow after, Amagri Dehen, vegetable bun 55555, wicked young master, naughty watermelon, dream is already, CWJ88, for your tips. Thank you. Chapter 88. After 2 whole hours, the 4 parties had no choice but to work together to break the door. But the result was still tragic. They were already impatient and finally didn't want to waste any more time here. They turned their target to the countless small palaces. The water attribute area is almost done. Let's go to the other areas. When the 4 of them started to loot the small palaces, Chen Hao's group had already opened more than a dozen of the more valuable palaces in the water attribute area. Although there were still quite a number of valuable palaces, they were all occupied by beasts and crowds. Chen Hao decisively chose to give them up. After all, until now, they had only obtained water attribute spirit herbs. They had not obtained anything from the central earth attribute and the other 3 gold, wood, and fire attribute spirit herbs. The 3 of them ran all the way. Probably because of excitement, Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui ran much faster than usual and followed closely behind Chen Hao's pace. 6 hours later, the sky was slightly bright. Chen Hao, Helian Wuzi, and Mo Yui's bags were bulging with excitement. The bountiful harvest was far more than the others. After a whole night of plundering, even if the restriction was difficult to open, it couldn't withstand the madness of everyone. The huge Xianhuang treasure vault, except for the area near the core palace, was almost completely plundered. Everyone also began to gather in the core area, not to compete with the experts they couldn't resist. It was no problem to watch the fun. And at this moment, almost everyone had more or less gained something, so they were very vigilant and tried their best to go to lively places with more people to avoid encountering evil schemes. And those powerful demonic beasts seemed to be restricted by the laws of Xianhuang ancient city. When the sky brightened, they had no choice but to quickly rush out of Xianhuang ancient city. The restriction of the core palace has indeed loosened. Just when Chen Hao and the other two couldn't find anything to gain, the voice of the treasure-hunting sword spirit sounded in Chen Hao's mind. It loosened? Chen Hao smiled slightly, and his face shone with a touch of confidence. You're really amazing, kid. How did you know that the restriction of the core palace will only loosen when all the palaces are broken? Do you think I've been relying on luck for the past month? Although the formations of all the palaces here are self-contained, they are also connected. Although I haven't figured out the mysteries of the formations yet, I can still see that. I can sense that there are several good treasures in the core palace. What treasure? Chen Hao asked. Or 5 elements spirit Dan and Spar? No, it's a few spirit treasures. Although they're very ordinary, at least they're not bad for the current you. They're worth more than the sum of the 5 element spirit herbs you've obtained. Are you sure? Chen Hao's eyes lit up. Of course. How could the treasure-seeking artifact spirit's detection be fake? You're not thinking of going, are you? Nonsense. Don't tell me you don't want me to go? I didn't want you to go. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I don't want you to blame me if you find out that someone else has obtained an enormous treasure. Although your strength has increased tremendously, the disparity between your strength and that of a rank 9 martial monarch is still too great. Your flying dagger that can instantly kill a rank 4 martial monarch probably won't even be able to break his protective aura. So what if I can't break it? Do you think a rank 9 martial monarch can kill me? That's not possible. Then why are you still talking nonsense? After Chen Hao finished speaking in his mind, he looked directly at Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui and said, let's go to the core area to take a look. Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui were both shocked. We'll act according to the circumstances. After the core palace of the treasury opens, this trial will end early. Even if Dongfang Jun is extremely daring, he won't dare to do anything to us in front of so many disciples. Besides, I'm not afraid of him. Boss, what rank have you advanced to? Looking at Chen Hao's confident and arrogant appearance, Mo Yui couldn't help but ask. Helian Wuzi also stared at Chen Hao curiously. Chen Hao, who was in a happy mood because of the great harvest, looked at Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui's appearance that couldn't be seen at all. Especially Helian Wuzi, who was supposed to have a beautiful little face. Chen Hao suddenly had the urge to laugh and felt a little proud. A young girl, especially a beautiful young girl, would be very protective and cherish her appearance. But Helian Wuzi, because of his instructions, made her face like this. It was really rare. My rank isn't important. What's important is that a rank 9 martial monarch can't do anything to me. Okay, let's go. You can wash your faces. We'll go openly, Chen Hao said. As the 3 of them stopped hiding their tracks and swaggered towards the core palace, they met more and more disciples who were gathering towards the core palace. Boom, boom, boom. Powerful and terrifying attacks came from all around the core palace. Obviously, Zhao Yunfei and the other 3 experts had returned to the 4 big doors and started to break them. What made them happy was that the originally motionless doors finally showed signs of loosening at this moment. Even the top of the palace made a rumbling sound. Obviously, the earth door at the top was no longer like the outside of the Xianhuang treasury, which was protected by 7-colored light. It was also the target of everyone's fighting. Moreover, the number of people who reached the top was undoubtedly the most. Because there were no 4 experts guarding the top. Wow. Helian Wuzi. Isn't that Helian Wuzi? What a miserable appearance. I feel pity for her. She's really beautiful. It's a pity that Dongfang Jun took a fancy to her. We don't have a chance anymore. It's said that Dongfang Jun once invited Helian Wuzi to join the Dongfang family's team, but was rejected. Did you see that? That Chen Hao is the boss of the 3 of them. It said that he even injured Dongfang Ying and Dongfang Jie. Are you bragging? Dongfang Ying and Dongfang Jie are both peak rank 4 martial monarchs. Although their ranks aren't high, the fighting power of the Dongfang family's disciples is quite strong. Moreover, it said that Chen Hao just advanced to rank 1 martial monarch and obtained the qualification to participate in the trial. It's definitely true. It was the disciples of the Cold Moon Hall who saw it. When we just entered the Xianhuang ancient city, didn't you hear that the Dongfang family's people were looking for Chen Hao and Helian Wuzi? They're actually that strong? Yeah. Look, their bags are all bulging. It's obvious that they've hunted as many demonic beasts as us. How can their strength be weak? When Chen Hao and the other two arrived in front of a large door, Helian Wuzi, who had already washed off the dirt on her face, revealed her beautiful little face. Although her clothes were still like that of a little beggar, her beautiful and cold face still attracted the attention of many disciples and caused them to discuss. Even Chen Hao and Mo Yui became the focus of everyone. After a while, Chen Hao became the subject of heated discussion. However, if these people knew that there were only a few demonic beast cores in their bags, and that they were mostly precious spiritual herbs and crystal stones, they would be so shocked that their jaws would drop to the ground. Of course, it would be normal for them to fight over it. In the face of everyone's discussion, Chen Hao didn't care in the slightest. However, Helian Wuzi slightly frowned. Her expression was ice cold, and she even secretly glanced at Chen Hao. At this moment, this girl's mind was only filled with the 4 words that Chen Hao had said to her, femme fatale. She even regretted washing off the dirt on her face. Fortunately, Chen Hao didn't reveal anything, which made her feel slightly relieved. The people who were attacking the door were Chen Hao and the other two's acquaintances, Zhuge Qingyun's group. As for the others, they were watching from afar. Most of them were disciples of rank 2 to rank 4 martial monarchs. Obviously, they all had the mood of watching a good show and didn't have the slightest intention of fighting over it. It couldn't be helped that they weren't strong enough. They didn't even have the ability to climb to the top of the palace. Without the strength of a rank 5 martial monarch, they wouldn't be able to climb to the top of the palace that was over 10 zhang tall. Otherwise, they would have tried their luck. As for the slightly stronger groups, they had already climbed to the top of the palace that didn't have the 4 great expert groups. Bang bang bang. Seeing that the door that Zhuge Qingyun and the others were using brute force to attack was getting looser and looser, Chen Hao knew that it wouldn't be long before it would be broken open. He raised his head and muttered to himself for a while, then suddenly said, "Come, let's go up." Students who have finished reading, please recommend this to your collection. Thank you. Chapter 89. Please add, recommend. Thank you for yesterday's reward, 588 Qidian coins, 200 Qidian coins, 100 Qidian coins from Feng Beiyi, 300 Qidian coins, 300 Qidian coins, 300 Qidian coins. Thank you. The top floor of the palace seemed to be at least 10 feet high, and there was no place to borrow strength. Chen Hao directly grabbed Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui's little hands, one on the left and one on the right. Let's go! Boom, boom, boom. Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui were already prepared. When Chen Hao's surging origin power entered their bodies, the 3 of them exerted their strength at the same time, and 3 explosions sounded from under their feet. Even they want to go up? Many people in the crowd began to mock him, but they immediately shut their mouths in shock. Chen Hao and the other 2 landed on the edge of the roof without any suspense, and then disappeared from everyone's sight. How is this possible? Rank 4 Martial King? Then Chen Hao has already advanced to rank 4 Martial King? Chen Hao's boundless brown origin power was clearly the sign of a rank 4 Martial King. Just this alone was enough to shock everyone. What was even more shocking was that it was already very difficult for a rank 4 Martial King to reach the top, but he actually brought 2 people who were clearly rank 1 Martial Kings to the top at the same time. 3 months ago, he was still a martial master. Moreover, he was the lowest ranked martial master among the new disciples of the imperial family's new excellence hall. He was already a rank 4 Martial King. This kind of speed of improvement was too shocking, especially since everyone present was a rare genius in Jinyuan Kingdom. Bang, bang, bang. Dozens of figures gathered at the center of the roof, and they were all wildly attacking. It was extremely chaotic. Obviously, the teams on the roof couldn't do anything to each other. They were like a group of dragons without a leader. Don't hold back. If we break through together, we'll all get a share. The 5 elements spiritual roots must be in this hall. Other than the 4 experts who will definitely get 4, will compete fairly for the other one. One of them shouted. Most of them were rank 5 and 6 martial kings, and only 3 were rank 7 martial kings. The 3 of us will also join. At this moment, Chen Hao's clear voice sounded, and the aura around him suddenly soared violently. Chen Hao knew that although this group of people had no leader, they did not have the strength to contend with him, so they would not be able to join at all. Therefore, before anyone could react to who had arrived, Chen Hao had already displayed his strength. Following Chen Hao's words, he leapt high into the air above the earth gate. His palms contained a terrifying amount of energy, and at the same time, a strange energy filled them as he slammed them down. Boom! The tall, mighty, and strongest Zhao Yunfei's domineering voice resounded in the entire palace as he announced the ownership of the 2 treasured swords. The golden sword is mine, Dongfang Jun's. If you are not afraid of death, come and snatch it. Dongfang Jun spoke in a gloomy voice. I, Bai Lian, want the water sword. You are welcome to snatch it. Bai Lian's mouth had a trace of a smile as he spoke indifferently. I, Zhuge Qingyun, want the wooden sword. Zhuge Qingyun said. Facing the terrifying pressure and arrogant words of the 4 great experts, the crazy crowd immediately calmed down. The huge difference in strength made them have no choice but to remain calm. Snatch from whom? 3 of them had valiant strength and were the genius disciples of the Zhenyuan kingdom's 3 major clans. Who would dare to offend them? Even if they could preserve their lives now, what would happen after they walked out of the Royal New Show Hall 6 years later? As for Zhuge Qingyun, who didn't have the backing of the 3 major clans, no one dared to take him. Because Zhuge Qingyun's group was the strongest. With a total of 13 people, who could snatch it? We won't snatch the item, but this light barrier definitely contains extremely dense 5 elemental energy. It shouldn't be a problem for us to go in and comprehend it, right? Right at this moment, a strange voice suddenly echoed in everyone's ears. It seemed to be drifting in from all directions, and no one was able to find out who was speaking. However, this wasn't important. The crucial point was that this person's words caused the quiet crowd to instantly become restless again. That's right. We are only here to comprehend and not to snatch the item. Even if the 5 elemental spiritual roots appear, we won't snatch it. We will comprehend as much as we can. Right. You guys can't be too tyrannical. In an instant, countless people responded in unison. Alright. With Zhao Yunfei being the first to agree, Dongfang Jun and the others immediately agreed as well. They were clear that if everyone really went crazy, even if they could snatch the item, they would have to pay a huge price. Chen Hao, who was hiding at the back of the crowd, had a strange smile on his face. His lips didn't move, but right at this moment, that strange voice echoed again. Charge. Every moment counts. Boom, boom, boom. This bewitching voice instantly caused everyone to stop hesitating and quickly rush towards the 7-colored light shield. The 2 of you don't go in. Chen Hao whispered to Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui. Immediately, he blended into the crowd and rushed towards the 7-colored light shield. The 5 elemental attribute in the middle is definitely the thickest. Everyone, go to the middle to comprehend. The strange voice sounded again. Those who originally wanted to sit down cross-legged and immediately start to comprehend, immediately began to rush towards the core frantically. Chen Hao blended into the crowd and rushed to the core like lightning. He seized the most central position and directly sat down cross-legged. No one noticed that at the instant he sat down, a strand of blood essence shot out from the tip of his finger, and it was accompanied by a strange energy that silently fused into the ring beneath him. After a short moment, the ring that was embedded in the center of the profound runes actually transformed into a strand of light that disappeared under Chen Hao's butt. At this moment, Zhao Yunfei, Dongfang Jun and the other 3 experts had already leaped into the air and collected the spiritual treasures that they fancied. No one dared to compete with them. Other than being envious and jealous, there was nothing they could do. Good sword. Pa. When Zhao Yunfei, Dongfang Han and the others were excitedly holding onto the various attribute treasures, they were instantly filled with excitement. The pure and boundless attribute energy contained within the sword had completely exceeded their imagination. It was definitely a rather valiant existence among the spiritual treasures. But right at this moment, no matter if it was Zhao Yunfei, Dongfang Jun, Bailey Yen, or Zhuge Qingyun, they all exclaimed at the same time. Chapter 90. Tomorrow's third watch, tonight's first watch. Brothers and sisters, please support Dark Mountain when the time comes. Thank you. Hiss. It was completely out of everyone's expectations. The 5 swords flew out of the hands of the 4 experts and transformed into 5 incomparably resplendent rays of light. It almost blinded everyone's eyes, especially the 4 experts who were holding the swords. They felt as if they had been blinded by the dazzling light in front of their eyes. Their vision was temporarily blinded. The sword of metal, showing off its sharpness, lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. The sword of wood, rustling in the wind, raging winds rising. The sword of water, bone-chilling cold, billowing smoke. The sword of fire, blazing flames, dazzling light. The sword of earth, pressing down like Mount Tai, descending darkness. Metal gave birth to lightning, wood gave birth to wind, water gave birth to ice and mist, fire gave birth to light, earth gave birth to darkness. The 5 treasured swords blossomed with extremely terrifying energy, causing chaos. In an instant, screams rang out from all directions. No one could see anything, but the terrifying and violent energy fluctuations and the hissing sound of the swords tearing through the air caused them to cry out one by one. A figure escaped from the crowd like a gust of wind amidst the chaos and silently drifted to the edge of the chaos, screaming along with everyone else. Who is it? Who stole my treasured swords? The 4 experts roared angrily. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, the teleportation talismans that everyone received before the trial suddenly began to vibrate violently. The bright light disappeared, the smoke dispersed, and the terrifying energy disappeared in an instant. Waves of mysterious runes also enveloped everyone's body. The 4 experts who were unwilling to give up swept their gazes over the figures in the main hall, but they didn't discover anything. It was as if the 5 treasured swords had disappeared into thin air. This made them gnash their teeth in hatred. They were extremely unwilling to give up. How could the meat in their mouths fly away inexplicably? Who would be willing to give up? But at this moment, they knew that there was no hope of getting it back. The 5 elemental spiritual roots were nowhere to be seen, and the 5 treasured swords had disappeared into thin air. However, the trial in the Xianhuang ancient city had ended in advance. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The teleportation talismans on everyone's bodies were activated one after another, and their figures suddenly twisted and disappeared into thin air. When they reappeared, they were already on the ancient teleportation array in the Royal New Show Hall. What's going on? Why did it end early? The several old men in charge of operating the teleportation array and sensing the spatial aura of Xianhuang ancient city were extremely surprised when they sensed the sudden fluctuations coming from the teleportation array. Xianhuang ancient city was open for 2 months every year. Only when the teleportation talismans on the trial disciples sensed the aura of the ancient city being about to close would they automatically activate and teleport everyone back. But at this moment, it had only been a month. How could the teleportation talisman have been activated? However, the elders seemed to have thought of something, and their faces were filled with excitement. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The figures of Chen Hao, Helian Wuzi, and Mo Yui also appeared in the teleportation array. All of them looked confused. Of course, Chen Hao's confusion was different from Helian Wuzi's and Mo Yui's. This brother was completely pretending. Who obtained the 5 element spiritual roots? The vice hall master in charge of this trial asked in a pleasantly surprised voice when he saw the disciples being teleported out one after another. However, when he saw the depressed Zhao Yunfei, the vice hall master slightly frowned and said, "Yunfei, what's going on?" Vice hall master, the Xianhuang ancient city should have collapsed. What about the 5 element spiritual roots? Did someone obtain them? No. We opened the Xianhuang treasure vault and saw 5 spiritual swords, but we didn't see any 5 spiritual roots. What? What about the swords? Who obtained them? Zhao Yunfei was even more depressed when he heard the Vice Hall Master's words. Motherfucker, he obtained 2 swords, but they suddenly disappeared for some reason. No one obtained them. Originally, Dongfang Jun, Bailey Yen, and Zhuge Qingyun obtained the 5 swords, but an accident happened the moment we obtained them. The 5 swords strangely left our hands and disappeared. We didn't even have time to figure out what happened before the teleportation talisman was activated. What? The Vice Hall Master and several old men felt incredulous when they heard Zhao Yunfei's words. They were clear that any ruins would only collapse after losing the array supporting the ruins. For the Xianhuang ancient city ruins, it was undoubtedly the 5 spiritual roots and the Xianhuang treasure vault. Now that the trial had ended early, the only possibility was that the ruins had collapsed. In other words, the 5 spiritual roots and the Xianhuang treasure vault had been obtained by someone. However, according to Zhao Yunfei, no one obtained them. After Dongfang Jun, Bailey Yen, Zhuge Qingyun, and the others came out, the Vice Hall Master asked them one by one and said the same thing as Zhao Yunfei. If the 4 great experts didn't obtain them, it was even more impossible for the others to obtain them. However, this matter was truly strange. Could it be that the demonic beasts in the Xianhuang ancient city obtained them? When everyone was teleported back, the Vice Hall Master counted the number of people. What made his heart ache even more was that there were actually 34 people who didn't return. It was obvious that these people had been buried in the Xianhuang ancient city. As for how they died, everyone was well aware of it. How could the fight for the Xianhuang treasure vault be simple? Among the 34 people, at least half of them had died in the fight. Even if the new show hall had rules and restrictions for this kind of matter, and it was the heaviest punishment of paying with one's life, unless someone witnessed it and had evidence, they couldn't do anything about it. Of course, they weren't willing to seriously investigate. These disciples were the rare geniuses of the Zhenyuan kingdom. With one less, the Zhenyuan kingdom would have one less strength in the future. The only thing worth rejoicing over was that from the expressions of the majority of the disciples, they should have obtained a huge harvest in the Xianhuang treasure vault. On the same day, explosive news spread out from the Royal New Show Hall. Not only did it cause a huge sensation among the intermediate and advanced disciples in the Royal New Show Hall, even the Hall Master, Vice Hall Master, elders, and countless expert instructors were filled with shock and joy. Harvest. That's right, the harvest of the new disciples in the Xianhuang treasure vault was beyond everyone's expectations. It made the intermediate and advanced disciples envious. 5 elements spiritual pills. It contained the purest and top-notch energy of the 5 elements spiritual roots. Based on the amount of energy it contained, it could only be regarded as a Tier 6 spiritual medicine at best. But its value was far beyond that of a Tier 6 spiritual medicine. Because any kind of 5 elements spiritual pill had an extremely amazing effect on the comprehension of the 5 elements energy. It was far from comparable to the pills refined from ordinary spiritual medicine. What's more, in addition to the 5 elements spiritual pills, there were also spiritual crystals that could condense the power of the 5 elements. Therefore, the Hall Master of the Royal New Show Hall immediately issued an announcement. Anyone who offered a 5 elements spiritual pill could exchange it for 10 Tier 6 spiritual medicines or 1 Tier 7 spiritual medicine, no matter which attribute of the 5 elements it was. The value of the 5 elements spiritual crystals was estimated according to the size of the spiritual crystals, which could be exchanged for more abundant spiritual medicines. In addition, the ranking and welfare level of this trial test were also determined according to the number of exchanges and the level and quantity of demonic beast cores obtained. Many people didn't want to exchange. After all, the 5 elements spiritual pills were of great value to any cultivator, not to mention that most people only got 20 or so pills, and some even had 30 or 40 pills. If they didn't even have enough for themselves, who would exchange for them? But if it was linked to the welfare level, some disciples couldn't help but be tempted. Because the welfare level not only determined the amount of spiritual pills they received every month, but also determine the level of the unique skills they could choose to practice in the unique art library. This was what really tempted all the disciples. That night, the door of Chenhao's room was closed. In the cultivation room, Chenhao's handsome face was full of smiles. He squinted his eyes and looked at the excited Mo Yui and Helian Wuzi. On the floor of the cultivation room, a huge carpet was spread out. The carpet was covered with 5 elemental spirit pills of different colors, but all of them were crystal clear. The entire cultivation room was filled with 7 colors, making it seem like a dream or a fantasy. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The 5 attributes were all derived from each other. There were also 5 element spiritual crystals. How many were there? Helian Wuzi, who had always been as cold as an iceberg, was now full of excitement. She squatted on the floor and picked up the spiritual pills of different attributes one by one. She put the spiritual pills of different attributes together. The corner of her mouth was slightly raised, and her little dimples were small. Other than joy, where was the coldness? P.S. Recommending friend Wandering Magic's new work, Sword Star. Elegance, pride, sincerity as the sword. Using the rules of the sword to derive the natal star, the sword breaks all skills. Calmness, white as snow, holding the sword with a smile. Anger, the sword breaks the firmament, and blood stains the blue sky. The sword wielder, with a sword in hand, is the Sword Star. Book ID equals 2400373, book name equals Sword Star. Chapter 91. A new week, the first update is available. Please recommend it, collect it, thank you. Cough cough. Chenhao, the boss, coughed awkwardly and hurriedly averted his gaze. He, who was standing and not doing anything, looked down at Helian Wuzi, who was squatting on the ground and sorting out the elixirs. He accidentally saw 2 snow-white cleavage through the girl's slightly loose collar. This was really an accident, and also purely unintentional. What's wrong, boss? Mo Yui, who was also squatting on the ground, hurriedly asked. Nothing. Chenhao shook his head and said, but secretly scolded in his heart. This guy usually doesn't even fart for 3 to 5 days, but when he shouldn't speak, he interrupted. Oh. Mo Yui replied, and his broken arm that had not recovered yet hugged the big sword that looked even more tattered. His other hand, like Helian Wuzi, continued to pick and sort out the elixirs excitedly. If they knew that the 5 treasured swords and the 5 element spirit roots were all obtained by me, what kind of expression would they have? Looking at the excited looks of the two, Chenhao couldn't help but smirk in his heart. 5 element spirit roots, the 2 of them should have guessed that I have already obtained 5 treasured swords. Even I didn't expect that. The truth was indeed so. At that time, Chenhao only knew that the most inconspicuous ring at the core of the rune was worth more than the 5 treasured swords according to the hint of the treasure-hunting sword spirit. Moreover, he directly followed the words of the treasure-hunting sword spirit and poured his own essence blood and the aura of the 5 element spirit roots into it. It was equivalent to the spirit treasure recognizing its master. But after doing all this, he and the treasure-hunting sword spirit did not expect that the 5 treasured swords would actually recognize the ring as its master, creating a subtle connection between Chenhao and it, as if the 5 treasured swords had also recognized him as their master. What was there for Chenhao to hesitate about? His head wasn't kicked by a donkey, and his head wasn't clamped by a door. Moreover, in order to obtain the ring, Chenhao had already created a chaotic effect, and completely met the conditions to silently make a fortune. Of course, he didn't hesitate to take the 5 treasured swords into the ring during the chaos. Boss, a total of 432 pieces of metal attribute derived from the thunder attribute. A total of 324 pieces of wood attribute derived from the wind attribute. The earth element was derived from the darkness element, and there were also 432 of them. 8 gold spiritual crystals, 6 wood spiritual crystals, 8 earth spiritual crystals. Mo Yui said excitedly. Immediately after, Helian Wuzi, who was completely unaware that she was exposed, also reported the fire and water attributes. The fire attribute was the most derivative, and the light attribute was the least in number. There were only 216 fire crystals and 4 fire crystals. The water element was the most astonishing. There were a total of 1,088 spiritual crystals of water, including 20 relatively large ones and 1 small one that looked like a jade pendant. In total, there were 2,492 5-element spiritual pills, 46 large 5-element spiritual crystals, and 1 small spiritual crystal. This harvest was too heaven-defying and shocking. It absolutely accounted for a third of the total income of all the disciples. Boss, why do I feel like half of it is missing? 1 spirit crystal is equivalent to 108 5-element spirit pills. Yeah, why is there so little? Chen Hao didn't answer their questions directly. Instead, he smiled and said, "You should have already guessed that I've obtained the 5-element spiritual roots. In addition to the 5-element spiritual roots, the core treasure of the black-yellow treasury is also in my hands." Chen Hao's words made Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui widen their eyes at the same time. As Chen Hao said, he had obtained the 5-element spiritual roots. Although Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui were not sure, they vaguely guessed it. After all, when the palaces in the black-yellow treasury were opened, Chen Hao's original energy contained a strange energy every time, which could easily open the palaces. But how could the core treasure of the black-yellow treasury also be in the hands of Chen Hao? At that time, the two felt that Chen Hao's actions were strange, but they never thought that how could Chen Hao get the things that had been obtained by the 4 great masters? At that time, I deliberately caused chaos to deceive others. However, I just wanted to get the inconspicuous black-yellow ring, but I didn't expect that the 5 swords were closely related to the black-yellow ring. So, naturally, I took them together. But the price was that I spent half of our 5-element spiritual pills. Chen Hao said with pain. It can't be? This can't be helped. My current strength is too low, so I can't activate the black-yellow ring. I can only activate it by swallowing the 5-element spiritual pills. Otherwise, I can't hide it from Zhao Yunfei and the rest. Chen Hao said, but although it's painful, it's still worth it. The value of the 5 swords far exceeds the value of half of our 5-element spiritual pills. Moreover, the black-yellow ring has a storage space. You saw Uncle Huang's storage ring last time, and it's similar to that thing. These spiritual pills and crystals are absolutely safe in there, unless I die. This matter cannot be known by anyone. Otherwise, we will offend the 3 great clans and Zhuge Qingyun. Our current strength is still too weak, so we must keep a low profile. What's with your eyes? No, nothing. Mo Yui said. Alright, each of us take 20 spiritual pills and exchange them for level 6 or level 7 elixirs. The level of benefits should be good, and the elixirs exchanged will be enough for us to use for a long time. Each of you take 1 spiritual crystal of each attribute for cultivation. The rest will be temporarily kept by me. When there's an opportunity to get a storage ring, I will distribute it to you. I believe it won't take long. If you don't have enough, just look for me. As Chen Hao spoke, he emitted a stream of mental energy from between his eyebrows. In an instant, the spiritual pills and crystals on the carpet disappeared with whooshing sounds. This caused Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui to be dumbfounded. There was nothing they could do. The storage space was simply too mystical for the two of them. They had only seen the storage ring when they followed Huang Qi previously. That was something that only martial god realm experts could refine. It was incomparably precious. In a small place like the Cloud region, it was basically impossible to have it. However, according to what Huang Qi said, it wasn't difficult for the disciples of the Royal New Show Hall to obtain a low-grade storage ring. Fortunately, Chen Hao was still able to activate the storage function and didn't need to consume any spiritual pills. Otherwise, it would be a huge tragedy. When our strength is sufficient, I will let the two of you use the water sword and golden sword. We can't expose it now, so I will keep it for the time being. Chen Hao continued. I don't need it. Helian Wuzi didn't say anything, but Mo Yui only hesitated for a moment, then hugged the broken sword tightly in his arms and said, Boss, it's enough for me, although the golden sword is very good, but what I like more is this sword that has accompanied me since I was a child. What's so good about this broken sword of yours? Do you really treat it as your wife? Chen Hao said speechlessly. Boss, although this sword isn't a good sword, it is my only proof of identity. I can feel that it has feelings for me. Mo Yui's expression was strange as he said with a red face. Cough cough. Helian Wuzi suppressed her laughter and coughed lightly to cover it up. No way. Chen Hao stared at Mo Yui with wide eyes. Actually, I'm not a direct descendant of the Mo family. My father is actually my adoptive father. According to my adoptive father, when he picked me up, I was with this sword. At that time, I was just born. Mo Yui's gaze became a little complicated and his voice was low. Helian Wuzi, who originally wanted to laugh, also didn't have the slightest trace of a smile at this moment. As for Chen Hao, he finally understood why Mo Yui was a sword maniac who was silent and reclusive. His sword is not simple. At this moment, the voice of the treasure-hunting sword's spirit rang in Chen Hao's mind. Oh, how is it not simple? Chen Hao asked with slight surprise. I don't know the details. The material is very ordinary, but it seems to contain an aura similar to mine. It's very, very weak. But I can confirm that as this kid's strength increases, this sword will also gradually evolve and upgrade. Are you saying that his lousy sword has a sword spirit? Kid, let's discuss something. The treasure-hunting sword's spirit suddenly changed the topic. There's no discussion. I haven't said anything yet. Are you really not going to discuss it? Don't you just want to swallow the 5-element spiritual pills? Are you really not going to give it to me? Don't regret it. What I hate the most is people who burn bridges after crossing the river. Could you have gotten so much without me? Don't expect me to help you sense treasures in the future. Cough cough. 10. Chen Hao hurriedly replied when he heard the treasure-hunting sword spirit. 500. 20. 600. Fuck. 500. If you don't want to do it, forget it. Including the two of them, I contributed the most, but I didn't even get a quarter of it. I even helped you get the 5-element spiritual root, the dark yellow ring, and the 5-element sword. Don't be too stingy. P.S. Thanks to Passionate Love 1176 Chidian coins, Happy Drunk in the Wind 200 Chidian coins, Maple Apart from the Night 100 Chidian coins, Dream is already 100 Chidian coins, for their support. Thank you very much. Begging for collection, recommendation tickets. The second update is at noon, and the third update is at around 7 p.m. Chapter 92. Second update, please recommend me. Thank you. Third update, before 7 p.m. Alright, I'll let you devour them after they leave. Chen Hao had no choice but to compromise. He had already thought of this. He had refused to discuss it earlier because he was afraid that this fellow would ask for too much. 500 was still within his acceptable range. After all, without Treasure Hunter's sword spirit, Chen Hao's gains would not be much higher than the other disciples, let alone the 5-element spirit root. After sending Treasure Hunter's sword spirit away, Chen Hao looked at Mo Yui and said, "Then use your sword. I also feel that your sword is not that simple. I'm afraid it has something to do with your sword intent." Yes, boss. It's just that its material is a little lacking. If it had the sharp aura of a golden sword, it would be perfect. That's simple. When you become stronger, just use your energy to refine it. As long as you find enough precious ores, you can gradually become stronger. Alright, you can all go back and cultivate. Tomorrow morning, we'll go and exchange for them. After we assess the benefits, we'll go to the secret library to take a look. What? How many did you say? The general manager of Cold Moon Hall looked at Chen Hao and the other two in shock, thinking that he had misheard. Yesterday, the hall master had already made an announcement and used the benefits to attract new disciples to exchange for some of their 5-element spirit pills. However, most of the disciples who came this morning only had 2 or 3 pills. The most they had was 5 pills. Obviously, everyone knew how precious the 5-element spirit pills were. It was already not easy to take out 5 pills. However, at this moment, Chen Hao actually said that each of them would exchange 20 pills for a total of 60 pills. The general manager thought that he had misheard and looked at Chen Hao and the other two in shock. We're too weak. Instead of keeping the 5-element spirit pills for future use, it's better to exchange them for level 6 and level 7 spirit pills. We think it's worth it? So, we'll exchange all of them for a total of 60 pills. Chen Hao said straightforwardly, General Manager, please exchange 20 level 7 spirit pills for us and the rest for level 6 spirit pills. This? Good. What a good child. If we all have this kind of dedication, our Royal New Show Hall won't be strong. But, aren't you going to keep a few for yourself? This is a spirit pill with the aura of the 5 elements spiritual roots. Although it is not very precious, it can only be found by chance. It will be very useful to you in the future. Although Old Man really wants all of you to exchange for it, it's better for you to keep a few for yourself. No need. Thank you, Chief Steward. We believe that we will be able to comprehend it with our own strength in the future. Let's exchange them all, Chen Hao said while shaking his head. Alright then. Level 3 benefits. This time, the 3 of you will receive a very high level of benefits. You might be tied for first place among the new disciples of Cold Moon Hall. These were 20 level 7 spiritual herbs and 400 level 6 spiritual herbs, which were exchanged. These 16 level 6 spiritual herbs and 60 level 5 spiritual herbs are your level 3 benefits for the 3 of you this month. Take these 3 tokens and go to the Secret Art Library to choose a cultivation method. Work hard and cultivate. I believe you will be able to improve your ranking in the year-end test. Yes. Thank you, Chief. Chen Hao and the other 2 bowed and left the hall. How could there be such stupid people? Not really. Their realms are too low. It is said that they came from a small county. They are obviously lacking in spiritual herbs and don't have any high-level cultivation methods. How can they rely on such little benefits? If I were them, I would do the same. After all, it's not only shameful to have a poor result in the end-of-year test, but they're also at the bottom. However, their luck is really good. They actually obtained 60 spirit pills, which is better than many people. That's true, but it is still not worth it. Hellion Woozy's conditions are so good. There are quite a few awesome people in New Excellence Hall who want to get close to her. Just casually deal with them, and I reckon they'll be able to obtain endless benefits. If I were her, I'd definitely be able to mix in with the wind and the water, and get benefits from both sides. Bah, if you were a woman, you would definitely be a broken shoe. Save it. I like girls with integrity like Hellion Woozy. You? Liking her is my personal matter. I didn't ask Hellion Woozy to like me. Chen Hao and the other 2 ignored the discussion and walked quickly to the Secret Art Library. The Secret Art Library was a giant palace with 7 floors. When Chen Hao approached it, his sharp senses sensed that the Secret Art Library was surrounded by layers of powerful restrictions. Chen Hao knew that if there were any abnormalities here, they would be surrounded by the experts of the New Show Hall immediately. From the 1st floor to the 7th floor, the higher the level of the secret arts, the stronger and higher the level of the secret arts. New disciples could enter the 1st floor when they received the 1st level benefits. The 1st floor was basically filled with 6th level and 7th level secret arts. This was the top cultivation method in Yunzhou County. However, in the Royal New Show Hall, it was only the lowest level of secret arts. The difference was too big. Of course, Chen Hao also knew that the real secret arts of the Royal New Show Hall would not be in the Secret Art Library. Chen Hao and the other 2 received the 3rd level benefits and were qualified to enter the 3rd floor. Uncle Huang? When Chen Hao and the other 2 arrived at the entrance of the Secret Art Library, they were surprised to find that the old man guarding the door was Huang Qi. Didn't the old man tell you? The old man is the uncle guarding the Royal New Show Hall. However, he's only the uncle guarding the Secret Art Library. Huang Qi, who was squinting his eyes as if he was lazily sleeping, immediately opened his eyes when he heard Chen Hao's voice. His sleepiness was completely gone. After carefully sensing the 3 of them, his gaze fell on Chen Hao's face and he said, "Not bad, you've improved a lot. What level are you at now?" A martial artist's true level was very difficult to sense just by relying on one's perception, unless it was during a battle or when the martial artist fully released his aura. It was even harder to sense the level of an intent. When an intent expert restrained their mental strength, even an intent expert would not be able to sense their level of cultivation. 4th level martial king. Chen Hao said with a smile. Not bad, not bad. If you work a little harder, there might be hope. Huang Qi smiled and said, what about intent? What level are you at now? I haven't cultivated much yet. I've put most of my energy into martial arts. Uncle Huang, what do you mean by hope? Chen Hao concealed his intent cultivation. It wasn't that he didn't trust Huang Qi, but he had his own plans. A dual cultivator of intent and martial arts had never appeared in the Jinyuan kingdom. But now, he had mastered the ability to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger, pretend to be a tiger to scare people, and pretend to be a tiger to disguise his realm at will. Naturally, he didn't want to reveal his cultivation base. Otherwise, once word got out, his awesome ability would lose its effect. Not cultivating is also right. After all, even though you have the talent of intent, this talent isn't considered strong compared to a true intent expert. Everyone has their own specialization and a person's energy is limited. You only need to focus on martial arts. With the talent of intent, your mental strength will naturally surpass ordinary martial artists. When you step into a higher realm in the future, you will have an advantage that others don't have. As for the hope I mentioned, when you really have hope, you'll naturally know. Give me the token. Uncle will do things according to the rules. Even though we have a close relationship, we still have to do things according to the rules. Huang Qi said as he stretched out his hand. When Chen Hao and the other two took out their tokens, Huang Qi suddenly exclaimed, Level 3 benefits. So powerful? It's a so-so. We've exchanged all 5 element spirit pills. Chen Hao said. Exchanged all? Hearing Chen Hao's words, Huang Qi's eyes narrowed into slits. Who would believe you? With your IQ? Cough cough. Chen Hao scratched his head awkwardly. He didn't expect Huang Qi, this old man, to be so shrewd. Little girl, and you, why are you still like a block of wood? You have to learn to be smarter, understand? Yes, Uncle Huang. Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui hurriedly said. Each person can only choose one martial skill and one martial art. You must pick them out within an hour and return them within 3 months. Also, even if it's the 3 of you, you can't lend them to each other or teach them to anyone else. Otherwise, the punishment will be very severe. Go. Uncle Huang, is there any other problem? Can I choose the intent absolute art? Even though I haven't cultivated it, I want to familiarize myself with it. If it's not so difficult and doesn't consume too much energy, I can give it a try. Chen Hao said. And that's true. If you cultivate it casually, your mental strength will be stronger. It's also very beneficial to martial artists. Alright, your situation is special. Uncle Huang, I'll make the decision and allow you to choose 2 more intent absolute art. Go. Thank you, Uncle Huang. The 3 of them responded and directly walked into the entrance to the 3rd floor of the Absolute Art Library. After reading it, please help to recommend it. Thank you everyone. Chapter 93. 3rd update, please recommend, bookmark. Thank you. The 3rd floor of the unique study library was 100 feet long and wide. It was surrounded by bookshelves made of white jade crystals. Secret manuals were placed in individual bookshelves. Beside each bookshelf, there was a name and introduction of the secret manual. There were hundreds of books on these 3 levels alone. A faint sandalwood fragrance filled the air. Smelling it made one feel relaxed and happy. Their minds seemed to clear up in an instant, and their mind was peaceful. It was as if all the worries that filled the heart like smoke had been quietly dispelled. The entire 3rd floor was divided into 4 major areas: martial skills, martial arts, mental skills, and mental skills. Among them, the martial skills area was the largest, followed by martial arts. The mental skills and mental skills areas added together were not even 1/10 of the martial skills area. Obviously, The cultivation secret manuals related to mental skills were as rare as mental skills to martial artists in the entire Jinyuan kingdom. More than 10 young men and women were standing in front of the bookshelves, choosing secret manuals. Looking at their age, they were about the same as Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui. From their clothes, Chen Hao and the other two understood that they were disciples who had entered the Royal New Show Hall a year earlier than them. "There's only an hour. Hurry up and choose," Chen Hao said in a low voice and walked towards the martial skills area. Martial skills were the way to use origin energy. The more powerful the martial skill, the more it increased the power of origin energy. As for martial arts, it was the inner strength mental cultivation method. It was the most fundamental thing for cultivators, and also the key to breaking through realms. Chen Hao had no interest in martial arts. Longevity secrets was definitely more powerful than the cultivation methods here. What's more, the taboo of inner strength mental cultivation methods was to be greedy. With longevity secrets, it was meaningless to cultivate other cultivation methods. As for martial skills, Chen Hao was quite interested. Because martial skills and ancient Chinese martial arts were combined, there would definitely be unexpected results. Although ancient Chinese martial arts were valiant, it was strong in the moves. If it could be combined with powerful martial skills and increase the strength by several times, the power would naturally be stronger. An hour is enough for me to memorize dozens of secret manuals. Chen Hao looked at the dazzling array of secret manuals and thought to himself excitedly. Now he already knew how abnormal his memory was. However, when Chen Hao casually flipped open a secret manual, he frowned. Mo Yui and Helian Wuzi, who were also following him to choose secret books, were also at a loss and puzzled. Other than the name on the cover of the secret manual, there was not a single word after opening it. What was going on? Is this your first time in the secret library? Just as the three of them were in a daze, a young girl with an elegant and refined temperament slowly walked to their side and said with a faint smile. This young girl's eyes seemed to be shrouded in a faint mist, hazy and unfathomable. She had jade-like bones and icy skin, and her figure was graceful. Although it wasn't as beautiful as Helian Wuzi's little face, it had a unique charm. Chen Hao frowned slightly, looked at the girl, and nodded. It was the same when I came here for the first time. All the secret manuals in the secret art library were condensed by the experts of our Jinyuan kingdom. They are not ordinary secret manuals. The reason for this is to prevent us, the disciples, from being greedy. If you want to cultivate these secret manuals, you need to inject energy into them in order to open the first level. Once you have mastered the first level, you need to circulate the essence of the first level and inject it into them again to open the second level. In other words, you have to do it step by step. When you choose a secret manual, you only need to look at the introduction beside it. If you like it, you can borrow it. I see. Thank you, senior sister. Chen Hao cupped his fists and said. He felt a little strange. This young girl's appearance and temperament were obviously not the kind of people who liked to take the initiative to interact with others. Especially when he saw the gazes of the other disciples who were choosing secret manuals, Chen Hao was even more certain of this point. However, this young girl actually took the initiative to approach and explain to the three of them, which made Chen Hao a little surprised. You're welcome. You're Chen Hao, right? As expected, the girl smiled slightly and looked at Chen Hao with her hazy eyes. Without giving Chen Hao time to answer, the girl continued, My name is Fong Qing. I entered the Royal New Show Hall a year earlier than you. We are all junior disciples. I heard from my grandfather that you have a physique that cultivates both martial arts and will. It's very rare. Senior sister, your grandfather is? President Fong? Hearing the girl's words, Chen Hao frowned slightly and asked. My grandfather thinks very highly of you. Although he has many personal disciples, he is very concerned about your situation. I am also very curious as to what level you can reach in the future with this kind of physique. Now it seems, the young girl stared at Chen Hao and said with a smile. As she spoke, a ray of light flashed through her misty eyes. It was obvious that she was checking Chen Hao's cultivation. Martial Emperor, your progress is really fast. Thank you for the compliment, senior sister Fong Qing, Chen Hao said. What level? Fong Qing asked. 4th level. Chen Hao did not hide it. What about intent? Chen Hao smiled slightly and repeated what he said to Huang Qi. Fong Qing smiled and did not say much. She waved her hand and said, Okay, hurry up and choose. Work hard on your cultivation. I hope you can get a good ranking in the year-end competition. Through Xiao Qing's introduction, the three of them understood what was going on and began to choose secret manuals. Of course, Chen Hao's dream of reading more secret manuals also became a bubble. He could only obediently start to read the introduction of various absolute arts. Mo Yui quickly chose a sword technique absolute art, Heartless Sword. Heartless Sword, level 8 martial arts technique. Its characteristics were speed, ruthlessness, and accuracy. It was merciless and heartless. The increase in attack power was average, but the speed was twice as fast as ordinary level 8 absolute arts. When the sword technique was mastered, one could stab out 18 sword lights in an instant. Each sword was fatal, as fast as lightning, fierce and ruthless. It was very suitable for Mo Yui. On the other hand, Helian Wuzi chose an 8th level palm technique, Exquisite Palm. Exquisite Palm was known as the Exquisite Palm. At the highest level, there were layers of palm shadows, and it was difficult to distinguish between the real and the fake. It had amazing offensive and defensive power. When Mo Yui and Helian Wuzi walked to the martial arts area and began to choose martial arts, Chen Hao was still looking at the introduction of each martial arts technique one by one. It seemed that there was nothing that satisfied him. Until the hundreds of secret manuals in the martial arts area were almost finished, Chen Hao's eyes locked on the introduction of a secret manual at the side. Star Shaking Fist. Remnant Volume, Level 8 Martial Arts Technique, a total of 7 moves. Cultivation requirement. Precise control of elemental energy, extremely strong physical resistance. Cultivators easily hurt themselves. Cultivate carefully. It's you. Just seeing the 2 words Remnant Volume, Chen Hao was excited. What else was there to think about when he saw the cultivation requirements? Remnant volumes were all level 8 martial arts techniques. The complete ones would definitely be stronger. And the cultivation requirements were tailor-made for Chen Hao. After that, Chen Hao casually took a martial arts technique and pretended. After all, with the complete version of Longevity Secret, Chen Hao didn't need to cultivate any inner force mental cultivation techniques for the time being. After that, Chen Hao carefully chose a level 8 technique, Air Absorbing Palm, and a level 8 technique, Heart Shattering Secret. Star Shaking Fist, Heart Shattering Secret? When Chen Hao and the other 2 walked out of the secret library's 3rd floor and came to Huang Qi to register, Huang Qi looked at the 4 secret manuals that Chen Hao took out in surprise. The other 2 manuals were nothing, but the Star Shaking Fist and Heart Shattering Secret made Huang Qi stare at Chen Hao, seemingly a little surprised. What's wrong? Chen Hao asked. What's wrong? You're really a ruthless kid. There were many people who chose the Star Shaking Fist, but only a few people actually succeeded in cultivating it. There were many who went berserk while cultivating it, and even more who were injured. There were even some who died while cultivating it. Didn't you see the 2 words on the introduction? This is just a remnant. Now that's interesting. Chen Hao smiled. Interesting? But let's not talk about the Star-Shaking Fist, old man. As for the Heart-Shattering Secret, I suggest you change it. You can choose any level 8 technique. Anyway, you major in martial arts, so there's no need to choose this. Why? Is there a need to ask? The introduction is very clear. Heart-shattering, heart-shattering. Every time you cultivate it, it's as if your soul is torn apart and you're in so much pain that you wish you were dead. Without great perseverance and a rock-solid heart, you can't cultivate it. Although the progress is fast, the disciples who choose this technique basically return it early. No one can persevere. And the further you go, the more painful it will be. Old man also cultivated it in the past. Now that I think about it, I'm afraid. My energy is limited. Isn't it good to improve quickly? The rest doesn't matter. Hearing Huang Qi's words, Chen Hao wasn't afraid. Instead, he felt that he had made a good choice. Pain that you wish you were dead? How many times had Chen Hao experienced pain that made him wish he was dead? As long as he could quickly increase his strength, he had the confidence to endure any pain. You brat, many people have the same idea as you. In the end, they all wasted a chance to choose a secret manual. You only have one chance to choose from the 3 levels of benefits. There are very few people who can persevere in cultivating it a few times. Don't ignore old man's advice. Uncle Huang, I know you're doing this for my own good. But I believe that I can persevere. I'll choose it. Chen Hao said stubbornly. You brat. I want to see how many times you can persevere. Brothers and sisters who have finished reading it, please help me recommend it. Thank you. Chapter 94. Looking for recommendation votes. Thank you. Thank you for yesterday's Passionate Love 1176 GDN coins. Young Promise 1176 GDN coins. Harmless Donkey 100 GDN coins. Dream is Already 100 GDN coins. Tears of the Devil King 100 GDN coins. Drunk in the Wind 100 GDN coins. And Book Friend 110908232854237100 GDN coins. Thank you. In the Royal New Show Hall, every disciple had 2 chances to train. After the 2 trials, the next half a year's time would be at their disposal. They could train in seclusion or accept the missions issued by the New Show Hall to train. Once the missions were completed, they would be rewarded with the corresponding level of mission. Such missions were good training for the New Show Hall's disciples. At the same time, it was also a way to obtain additional elixirs. If they encountered any problems during training, they could also seek guidance from the instructor on duty at the martial arts hall. There was no collective teaching like a class restriction. Needless to say, the New Show Hall's model was Chen Hao's favorite. After Chen Hao and the other 2 chose their secret manuals in the unique art library, they didn't accept any missions. Instead, they immersed themselves in training in seclusion. They could only borrow the secret manuals for 3 months. Such special secret manuals could only be learned through cultivation. 3 months was simply too short. Furthermore, there was no possibility of renewing the loan, unless they received the 3rd level of benefits again. Therefore, the 3 of them had to try their best to learn as much as possible. In the Royal New Show Hall's benefits, only the basic benefits would never change. However, the benefits for the higher levels were calculated on a monthly basis. If they received the benefits in the current month and didn't receive any assessment for the next month, they would only receive the basic benefits. They could only enter the 1st level of the unique art library. They couldn't enter the 3rd level. Therefore, the 3 of them could only try their best to learn as much as possible from the secret manuals. In the training room, Chen Hao's body was radiating with a resplendent brown glow of elemental energy. His body was as fast as lightning as he blasted out a punch. At this moment, the glow of elemental energy around his body suddenly converged. His fist was shining with an incomparably resplendent brown glow like a star. Boom! A muffled explosion rang out, causing the entire training room to tremble violently. On the incomparably hard wall made of special metal, a fist imprint about 5 centimeters deep appeared. Almost the entire fist had sunk into the wall. Peng peng peng! Chen Hao threw out dozens of punches as fast as lightning. Suddenly, he retreated to the core of the training room and shouted, "Absorb!" Following Chen Hao's shout, he opened his hand and grabbed the 1,000-pound boulder that he had specially brought back from 10 steps away. That 1,000-pound boulder actually flew into the air and directly flew towards Chen Hao. At the same time, Chen Hao punched out. Boom! Stone chips flew everywhere, turning into fine powder. Phew! When the dust settled, Chen Hao stared at the dense fist marks on the wall. He let out a long sigh and revealed a gratified expression. 2 whole months, star-shaking fist, absorbing palm, heartbreaking art, all comprehended. This speed is not bad, right? My battle strength should have increased by at least 30%. I wonder how Xiaowu and Xiaoma are doing. Chen Hao thought to himself as he pushed open the door to the training room. In these 2 months, the three of them only met once when they received their benefits last month. The rest of the time, they did not leave the room and relied on the fasting pills to support themselves. They wholeheartedly immersed themselves in closed-door training and comprehending. During this time, Chen Hao's level increased too quickly. What he lacked the most was battle experience. Chen Hao was very clear about the importance of a foundation. Therefore, in this month, besides cultivating longevity secret while recovering his elemental energy and experiencing death almost every day to cultivate heartbreaking art to refine his psychokinesis, he did not make any breakthroughs. Instead, he wholeheartedly immersed himself in martial arts and mental techniques. But even so, the barrier between Martial King and Mental Emperor 4th stage was already faintly loosening. Chen Hao believed that as long as he was willing, he could break through at any time. Not only that, Chen Hao discovered that with his unique physique that dual cultivated in both martial and will, in this sort of boundary, although the two barriers were completely independent of each other, there was also a subtle connection between them. Chen Hao couldn't explain it clearly, but he could feel that as long as he broke through one of the barriers, the other barrier would also break apart. This feeling was very clear. How is it? Not long after, when Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui arrived at Chen Hao's dormitory, Chen Hao asked. Helian Wuzi said, "I've already cultivated to the 7th stage. I've advanced to 3rd stage Martial King. I should be able to cultivate to the last stage next month." Not bad. On the contrary, Helian Wuzi made Chen Hao quite satisfied. He had to admit that this little girl's talent was indeed astonishing. She wasn't as special as he was. To be able to reach such a stage, it was obviously impossible without extremely strong talent. In a small place like the Helian family, she was indeed buried. With the environment and conditions of the Royal New Show Hall, which was 100 times better, Chen Hao believed that this little girl would display more and more astonishing talent. I've also advanced to 3rd stage Martial King. I've comprehended Heartless Sword to the 8th stage. But for the 8th stage Pure Yang art, I've only comprehended to the 6th stage. Mo Yui said with slight regret. Not bad, Chen Hao said. What about you? Helian Wuzi asked. I've cultivated all of them. After 3 months, I'll return the secret manuals with you. I want to take some missions to gain experience first. Hearing Chen Hao's words, Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui were not surprised. The two of them were already used to Chen Hao's abnormal talent. Although they had followed Chen Hao's instructions for the past 2 months, desperately torturing themselves and madly cultivating. In the end, they still could not catch up to his pace. After Chen Hao received his benefits, he directly said a few words to Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui, then went to the Cold Moon Hall's primary disciple mission distribution area. The huge hall of the palace was currently filled with Cold Moon Hall's disciples. There were primary disciples, intermediate disciples, and advanced disciples with stronger auras. The first day of every month was the day when the Royal New Show Hall's missions were distributed. Therefore, without a doubt, today was the busiest day in the mission distribution area. Chen Hao? What surprised Chen Hao was that when he walked to the door of the mission distribution area, he met the elegant and refined young girl Fong Qing again. There were several young men and women with Fong Qing. Fong Qing took the lead and was clearly the core of the group. She was walking out of the main hall. Senior sister Fong Qing, what a coincidence. Chen Hao said with a smile. Didn't you borrow the secret manual? Why, did you hit a bottleneck? Fong Qing smiled. Under normal circumstances, the disciples who borrowed the secret manual would go into seclusion to comprehend it. Only when they hit a bottleneck and were stuck would they be inspired through experience and battle. Chen Hao was slightly taken aback, but he immediately responded. You haven't taken any missions, right? Yes. It's my first time here, Chen Hao said. Then I'll have to help you explain. Wait for me. Fong Qing said to Chen Hao and then turned to speak to the disciples behind her. Hearing Fong Qing's words, the disciples looked at Fong Qing in surprise. They clearly did not understand when their big sister had become so kind. Those who were not familiar with her might be confused by Fong Qing's tranquil and refined temperament. However, if they truly thought Fong Qing was a gentle and soft kitten, The consequences would be too miserable. Thank you, senior sister. I'll have to trouble you again. It's no problem, Fang Qing said and then brought Qin Hao into the mission hall. Do you see those 19 mission boards? Our new show hall's missions are divided into 19 levels according to the difficulty of the missions. They are also divided according to the cultivator's level. For example, the lowest level mission is a rank 1 monarch level mission. If you want to complete a mission like that, you need to be at least a rank 1 monarch. So on and so forth. Level 9 missions correspond to rank 9 monarchs. Level 9 missions correspond to rank 9 monarchs. Level 10 missions correspond to rank 1 monarchs. Level 18 missions correspond to rank 9 monarchs. Level 19 missions correspond to rank 1 monarchs. Level 19 missions correspond to rank 1 monarchs. Level 19 missions are usually special missions. Very few disciples will be able to satisfy the mission requirements, Fang Qing said. So you're saying that I, a rank 4 martial monarch, can only take on level 4 missions? Chen Hao said with a slight frown. That's not necessarily true. You can take on level 1 to level 3 missions. It's just that the rewards are small and not challenging. You can also take on missions above level 5 as long as you're not afraid of death. I heard from Grandpa that your combat strength is very strong, but don't even think about taking level 5 missions. What rank are you now? I'm still rank 4. Oh. Fang Qing was slightly surprised. However, when she saw Chen Hao's confident eyes, she understood what was going on. She smiled slightly and said, "It's not bad to stabilize your realm. There are no disadvantages. You're a rank 4 martial monarch. At best, you can take on level 4 missions of medium difficulty. These mission levels are evaluated according to the average combat strength of the Eastern Continent's genius disciples in their respective realms. Your talent is one of the geniuses in our country. However, our Jinyuan kingdom is only a small country. Compared to the geniuses of other kingdoms and empires, we're far inferior. So, at best, you can take on level 4 missions that are relatively simple. It's already very dangerous for you. It's better to take level 3 missions to be safe. Under normal circumstances, most disciples will do missions with a lower rank. If it's a team, it's slightly higher. Fang Qing explained. Chen Hao was slightly dazed. Even he didn't expect the Royal New Show Hall's missions to contain so much information. Fang Qing's words made Chen Hao even more certain of his original conjecture. Jinyuan Kingdom was ultimately a small and weak country, and his amazing talent could only be considered a genius in Jinyuan Kingdom. The Eastern Continent that Fang Qing mentioned was an area divided by the Boundless Continent. Jinyuan Kingdom belonged to the Eastern Continent. The Boundless Continent was divided into 5 continents: East, West, South, North, and Central, as well as overseas islands. After Fang Qing explained to Chen Hao, she told Chen Hao to be careful and left by herself. The mission levels are evaluated according to the average combat strength of the Eastern Continent's genius disciples? Very good. Chen Hao took a deep breath. His eyes shone brightly as he walked toward the level 4 mission announcement board. Once he understood this, Chen Hao had a reference and a goal to work towards. Yo, isn't this a coward? When Chen Hao came to the level 4 mission announcement board and browsed through the missions with bright eyes, a sarcastic, contemptuous, and arrogant voice suddenly came from beside him. P.S. Please add it to your collection. Thank you. Recommending a very popular book, Shaolin Abbot of the 80s, Heaven Doesn't Open Its Eyes. It actually transmigrated a young man in his prime from the 80s to ancient times. It's fine if he transmigrated, but he transmigrated as a monk. It's fine if he transmigrated as a monk, but he had to be an abbot. It's fine if he's an abbot, but he even set up an abbot system to restrict me. Practice the virgin technique to great success? Make Shaolin the #1 sect in the world? Become the leader of the martial arts world? The system's requirements are too outrageous. I'm just an ordinary man from the 80s. I'm afraid I'm not qualified for such a great undertaking. But with this damn system's restrictions, I have to be qualified even if I'm not. The young man from the 80s cried and struggled. No one knew that the ultimate wish of this young abbot who was the leader of the martial arts world, was to return to the secular world. Link Frowny Face book ID equals 2335457, book name equals Shaolin Abbot of the 80s. Chapter 95. Chen Hao frowned slightly. Although the person did not name him, the voice was not unfamiliar. Who else could it be but the dog of the Dongfang family? Coward, I'm talking to you. In Shenhuang Ancient City, your asterisk had shrunk into your skull. When you returned to the new show hall, you shrunk into your dormitory. I thought you would always be a coward. Do you think I won't settle the score with you just because of this? I couldn't do anything to you back in your dorm, but don't think that fourth brother and I will forget the humiliation of that sword strike. Dongfang Ying stared at Chen Hao and said in a sinister voice, "Scram." Chen Hao turned around and stared coldly at the person who had just arrived. Brat, be careful. 2 peak 5th grade martial monarchs and 1 peak 6th grade martial monarch. At this moment, the voice of the treasure-hunting sword spirit resounded in Chen Hao's mind. The treasure-hunting sword spirit's powerful perception wasn't just great at sensing spirit herbs and treasures, it also had an incomparable accuracy towards cultivators' realms. It's good to be strong, Chen Hao said in his mind. There were 3 people in total. 2 of them were Dongfang Ying and Dongfang Jie. After the 2 of them returned from the Shenhuang Ancient City, they had broken through to peak rank 5 martial monarchs. The other person standing in the middle was Dongfang Zhan, whose cultivation was higher than the 2 of them. He was a peak rank 6 martial monarch. When Dongfang Jun and the others saw Chen Hao's group of 3 in Shenhuang Ancient City, it was already the end of their training. They wanted to play the hero saving the damsel in distress and trample on Chen Hao, but they didn't even have the chance. However, when they returned, they found out that Chen Hao and the other 2 had foolishly used the 5-element spirit pills in exchange for level 3 benefits. They then entered the unique art library to choose secret manuals and began to cultivate in seclusion. They had no chance at all. Dongfang Jun and the others estimated that it would take at least 3 months for the 3 of them to come out of seclusion. However, he did not expect to meet Chen Hao here at this time. At this moment, Dongfang Jun was in closed-door cultivation to make a breakthrough to Martial Emperor. However, the 3 of them were not afraid of Chen Hao at all. 2 peak rank 5 and 1 peak rank 6. What was there to be afraid of? Yo, you want us to scram? What a big tone. Do you think you're still in your dorm? Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Today, I will let you know that the disciples of the Dongfang family are not people that a little trash like you can provoke. Come out with me if you have the guts. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're a coward. I have plenty of chances to break your shell. Dongfang Ying said provocatively. A challenge? Very well, I accept. Chen Hao's handsome face flashed with a touch of coldness when he saw countless people surrounding him in an instant. His voice became even calmer as he spoke. At the same time, he turned around and walked out of the hall. Everyone could clearly sense the powerful battle intent emanating from Chen Hao's body. So what if they were rank 5 or 6 martial emperors? Chen Hao hadn't fought a real battle since he had reached the 4th grade emperor level. Since he had come knocking on his door, he might as well use this battle to test his combat strength. You have guts. I love beating gutsy bastards like you until you're weak and kneeling on the ground begging for mercy. Ha, a third brother, why don't you let me do it? I'm already excited. Dongfang Jie was overjoyed when he saw that Chen Hao had agreed to Dongfang Ying's request. If Chen Hao hadn't accepted, they wouldn't have been able to do anything to Chen Hao so brazenly. Now, it was obvious that Dongfang Ying's provocation had succeeded. Of course, he was secretly pleased with himself and added fuel to the fire. Chen Hao, who was walking out, paused slightly. Without turning his head, he said, I don't mind if the 3 of you come at me together. It'll save me the trouble. The crowd, which had already begun to discuss spiritedly, suddenly burst into a wave of boos. It was already surprising that Chen Hao dared to accept the challenge. Now, he actually said such arrogant words. Some of the intermediate and advanced disciples who had come to watch the show shook their heads slightly. They looked at Chen Hao with a trace of pity in their eyes. As people who had experienced it, who hadn't seen the strength of the Dongfang family's disciples. Many of them had even been bullied by the Dongfang family's disciples. Those who could endure it were still all right. Those who pretended to be stubborn were basically nowhere to be found. They didn't even know how they died. Endure it for a while and the wind will be calm. Take a step back and the sky will be clear. Sigh, why are the disciples nowadays becoming more and more arrogant? The Dongfang family's disciples are the ones who should not be provoked. They are much more ruthless than the Zhao family and the Bailey family. What a pity! Yeah. Who dares to offend the Dongfang family? Each and every one of them, cough cough. One of them wanted to say something but shut his mouth halfway. The Dongfang family was one of the three major families in the Jinyuan kingdom. Before their disciples entered the royal New Show Hall, the ultimate techniques that they cultivated were incomparable to ordinary people. Basically, any disciple of the Dongfang family had the ability to challenge those of a higher rank with their powerful ultimate techniques. They indeed had the right to be arrogant and overbearing. However, this wasn't the strongest thing about the Dongfang family. The strongest thing was that the Dongfang family's disciples never cared about face or principles. They were domineering, arrogant, shameless, and unscrupulous. It was also because of this reason that these disciples didn't dare to speak ill of the Dongfang family. They were afraid that if the rumors were to spread to the ears of the Dongfang family's disciples, it would be disastrous. This Chen Hao, let's not associate with him anymore in the future. Among the crowd, Zhuge Qingyun and a few other disciples from the Lansong province were among them. At this moment, Zhuge Qingyun gazed at Chen Hao's back view and spoke indifferently but without any doubt. Boss, this is needless to say. We are clear. We don't think highly of this brat. He doesn't even know the ways of the world and might die at any moment. Associating with him is unlucky. Yeah, it was the same during the hall selection. Junior sister Xiaowu clearly agreed to go with boss, but it was because of him. Hearing this disciple's words, Zhuge Qingyun helplessly shook his head and thought in his heart, there will be a day when junior sister Xiaowu knows how good I am. Before Zhuge Qingyun met Helian Wuzi, he had never fallen in love. Perhaps it was because he had never fallen in love that he firmly believed that Helian Wuzi was his destined woman. He would never forget how excited he was when he saw Helian Wuzi's ice-cold and beautiful face for the first time. Although he restrained himself very well and others couldn't tell, he deeply understood that it was love at first sight. Love at first sight. Let's go, we'll go out and take a look. Zhuge Qingyun muttered to himself for a while and said softly, Third brother, fourth brother, don't lower your guard. I've heard that this brat had already advanced to rank 4 martial monarch when he was in Xianhuang ancient city. Right now, I'm afraid that he has already advanced to rank 5. His aura isn't any weaker than yours. Dongfang Jun wasn't present, so Dongfang Zhan, who was temporarily acting as the leader, walked between the two of them and reminded them in a low voice. Don't worry, second brother. How could this brat compare to our Dongfang family's secret techniques? Last time, we were simply unprepared and suffered a loss. Right now, the two of us have both advanced to peak rank 5. Why should we be afraid of him? Second brother, third brother, let me go first. Even if that brat's battle prowess is really strong, he still arrogantly said that he wanted us to go at him together. He's really looking for death. At worst, if I can't do it, third brother will do it. If third brother can't do it, second brother, you'll do it. I guarantee that you'll trample this brat until he's unrecognizable. Dongfang Jie said in a low voice with a sinister expression. All right, I'll let you show off your might first. Damn, today's luck is really too good. This year, our Dongfang family's glory will start from today's battle. Dongfang said. The two of them didn't feel that their conversation was shameless at all. They even felt that it was natural for them to fight in turns. This was something that couldn't be helped. The reason why the Dongfang family's disciples were so shameless and rude was just as Chen Hao guessed. It was related to their upbringing. What was shamelessness? They didn't care about face at all. The only thing they cared about was the final victory. As long as they could win, it didn't matter what method they used. After arriving at a spacious plaza, the disciples of the mission hall basically all followed them to watch the show. Especially the junior disciples, not a single one was left out. There were many challenges in the Royal New Show Hall, and they happened basically every day. However, there weren't many challenges that were contradictory in nature. The main challenge was a ranking challenge. Every year, there would be a ranking for the junior disciples, intermediate disciples, and advanced disciples in the end-of-year competition. Anyone who was ranked in the bottom 50 for 2 consecutive years would lose the qualification to be a disciple of the Royal New Show Hall. The challenge was the only chance to salvage the situation. For example, if a disciple was ranked in the bottom 50 for this year's end-of-year competition, he would be able to replace the disciple who was ranked in the top 50 for next year's end-of-year competition. Even if he was still ranked in the bottom 50 for the next year's end-of-year competition, it would only be the first time. It was also because of this reason that there were many challenges in the Royal New Show Hall. This was also the most effective way to motivate the disciples. Faced with the countless onlookers, the 3 Dongfang family members were very excited. Dongfang Jie's expression was even more arrogant as he stood in front of the cold Chen Hao. Boom boom. 2 explosions sounded. Dongfang Jie and Chen Hao simultaneously surged the elemental energy around their bodies. A thick brown elemental energy protective aura instantly condensed around the 2 of them. Rank for Martial Monarch? Or rank for Martial Monarch? Sensing the fluctuation of elemental energy after Chen Hao released his protective energy barrier, and then looking at the color of Chen Hao's elemental energy, Dongfang Jie immediately laughed arrogantly. The onlookers were also very surprised. Since Chen Hao was so arrogant, most people thought that he should at least have some strength. However, he was actually only a rank 4 Martial Monarch. Dongfang Jie, who was obviously the weakest of the 3, was actually a rank 5 Martial Monarch. In addition, the Dongfang family's disciples were very strong. The result was very obvious. I thought you had advanced to rank 5 or rank 6. You're just a mere rank 4 Martial Monarch, yet you dare to be so arrogant. Come, eat my palm. Along with Dongfang Jie's loud shout, violent elemental energy surged out. Dongfang Jie's clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. The brown elemental energy wreaked havoc around his body, causing the air within a radius of several zhang to churn violently. He suddenly stomped his feet and sent out a palm strike, toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. The first attack was the Dongfang family's rank 9 secret art, mountain toppling palm. It was very powerful and imposing. Boom boom boom. A huge brown elemental energy palm instantly exploded the surrounding space and attacked Chen Hao with the force of toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. Second update. The last chapter of the public chapter will be published in the early hours of the morning. I am very nervous. I will update the next chapter when the time comes. Tomorrow, there will be 4 chapters with over 12,000 words. Brothers and sisters who support Dark Mountain, please support the official subscription. At the same time, please give your guaranteed monthly votes to Dark Mountain to give Dark Mountain some enthusiasm and encouragement. Thank you very much. When the time comes, the related chapters will also be updated. Brothers and sisters, please take a look. Chapter 96. Break for me. Chen Hao, who was already prepared, suddenly pushed his origin power to the extreme. He didn't dodge at all, and suddenly punched out with both fists. In an instant, the fist shadows were like a string of cannonballs, like a torrential river, violently bombarding Dongfang Jie's huge palm shadow. Bang, 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 bang. The continuous sound of air exploding rose and fell. Dongfang Jie's violent attacks were completely shattered before they could reach Chen Hao. The origin power wreaked havoc, and a fierce wind rose. The surging power forced the spectating disciples with lower cultivations to activate their protective auras to defend themselves. Dongfang Jie's expression changed. How is this possible? My mountain-shattering palm is a 9th rank secret art. I've already pushed it to the extreme. How can it break a puny 4th rank martial king? Dongfang Jie knew the speed of Chen Hao's sword, so he wanted to use his absolute strength as a 5th rank martial king to completely suppress Chen Hao. However, he didn't expect Chen Hao to break it so easily. Star-shaking fist. What was even more unexpected was that after breaking apart Dongfang Jie's toppling mountain palm, Chen Hao actually didn't stop in the slightest. Those fist shadows suddenly disappeared, and his clothes fluttered as he charged towards Dongfang Jie like a bolt of lightning. At the same time, his right fist shone with a resplendent origin energy light that was condensed to the extreme, as if it had transformed into the stars in the sky, and he punched out. At this moment, Dongfang Jie felt a terrifying pressure. He knew that he had been targeted by Chen Hao's fist intent, so he didn't dare to hesitate anymore. Jade shattering claw. Dongfang Jie's contracted eyes were filled with viciousness, and a wildness to vent his anger. His 5 fingers abruptly opened up into claws, and the brown essence force actually caused his claws to sparkle with jade-like brilliance, meeting Chen Hao's fist head-on. Star-shaking fist? Isn't that the remnant scroll on the 3rd floor of the secret art library? This brat actually learned it? Ah, jade-shattering claw. Dongfang family's superior 9th rank secret art. As soon as the two of them came up, they started to fight in close combat, which shocked everyone. At this moment, when the fist and claw collided, many intermediate and advanced disciples' eyes slightly narrowed as they thought in their hearts. Chen Hao let out a cold snort with a cold expression. Unexpectedly, he did not change the path of his fist and brazenly met the attack head-on. Ding! Rumble! The moment the fist and the claw collided, there was actually a sound similar to the sound of metal clashing and a terrifying explosion of air. The scene that everyone imagined of Chen Hao's fist being locked did not happen. Instead, the two figures suddenly retreated. Pooh! Dongfang Jie, who was retreating, felt something sweet in his throat and actually spat out a mouthful of blood. Even Old Four's jade-shattering claw was broken? Dongfang Zhan and Dongfang Ying's faces suddenly turned ugly. Although they had expected Chen Hao to be very strong, they had not expected him to be so strong. Challenging someone of a higher cultivation level than him, and even fighting him head-on, suppressing Dongfang Jie with absolute power. The surrounding disciples also felt that it was inconceivable. The star-shaking fist is actually so strong, no wonder it's so hard to cultivate. Many intermediate and advanced disciples had tried to cultivate the star-shaking fist, but only a few of them were true geniuses. At this moment, seeing that Chen Hao had actually used the star-shaking fist to break Dongfang Jie's jade-shattering claw, and that Dongfang Jie was a 5th-rank martial king, they were extremely shocked. Clang! Dongfang Jie, who was retreating, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His expression became even crazier as he suddenly pulled out the sword from his back. The sword was 3 feet and 3 inches long and 1 and 8 inches wide. It was not as wide as Mo Yui's greatsword, but the sword's body was suffused with a chilling aura. The material of the sword was obviously much better than Mo Yui's greatsword. Although it had not reached the level of a spiritual treasure, it was definitely not an ordinary metal. Chen Hao and the other disciples who came from poor families could not afford it. Perhaps only the disciples of the 3 great families could have such a treasure sword. Droughtland Thunder. With the treasure sword in hand, Dongfang Jie's aura suddenly increased. He raised the sword and waved it. In an instant, rays of sharp sword light violently shot out like lightning. Rumble! The hard rock ground around Chen Hao was instantly filled with countless pieces of rubble and smoke. It was as if dense bombs had exploded at the same time. Chen Hao's figure was completely submerged in the smoke of rubble, forcibly stopping Chen Hao from continuing to attack. Bang bang bang! Chen Hao's fist shadows came one after another. Other than his eyes slightly shrinking, he actually did not have the slightest bit of fear as he shattered the sword light shooting towards his body with his fist. Coward, you are indeed very strong, but if this is all you have, then obediently kneel down and kowtow to me. Thunderclap 9th Heaven. Dongfang Jie was unforgiving after gaining the upper hand. He used the highest sword skill he had comprehended, Thunderclap Sword, to the last level of Thunderclap 9th Heaven. Violent origin power condensed into a sword aura. Hiss! Man and sword became one as it pierced towards Chen Hao as fast as lightning. In your dreams! Chen Hao, who seemed to be completely suppressed, suddenly trembled. With a boom, his protective aura turned into a brown flame, burning fiercely. His entire aura suddenly rose sharply. Star-shattering fist. Hiss. Rumble. A fist that was condensed to the extreme was like a dazzling shooting star, and it shattered the numerous dense sword lights with irresistible force. Dongfang Jie, who had victory within his grasp, never would have imagined that Chen Hao would actually strangely dodge his sword, and he was utterly unable to dodge in time before he let out a shrill cry and was blasted flying by Chen Hao's shocking punch. Poof! Like a kite with a broken string, Dongfang Jie was still flying in the air when he spat out a mouthful of blood. Fourth brother. The change happened too quickly. When Dongfang Zhan and Dongfang Ying reacted, it was already too late to make a move. Fuck your mother. I want you to die. The two of them caught Dongfang Jie. Seeing that his face was as white as a sheet and had obviously suffered heavy injuries, Dongfang Ying immediately shouted angrily and was about to rush out. Me. Dongfang Zhan pulled Dongfang Ying and said coldly, "Powerful, to actually win against someone of a higher level. The star-shaking fist is really powerful. For this Chen Hao to be able to learn it, his talent is really not simple. Unfortunately, I'm afraid he won't be able to win this time no matter how strong he is." The crowd was discussing spiritedly. When they saw the rank 6 martial monarch Dongfang Zhan appear, they knew that the battle was about to end. As for the new disciples, they were cursing the Dongfang family in a low voice. Not only did they take turns to fight, they even bullied the weak. It was obvious that these people had not experienced the shamelessness of the Dongfang family's disciples. Chen Hao is actually this strong. When he was with us, he was only a martial master, this talent. The disciples beside Zhuge Qingyun were obviously even more shocked. In less than half a year, Chen Hao, who they thought had a special physique and extremely high talent but was unable to withstand a single blow, had already grown to a level that most of them could not match. Clang! Without giving much time for discussion, Dongfang Zhan unsheathed his sword with an arrogant and cold expression. His eyes were filled with boundless ruthlessness as he stared at the uninjured Chen Hao. His sword was exactly the same as Dongfang Ying's sword. It was obviously a treasured sword of the same level. No expression could be seen on Chen Hao's face. Only the corner of his mouth was slightly raised, telling everyone that he was filled with disdain and arrogance from his bones. Without making any sound, he unsheathed his sword from the simple ironwood sword sheath on his back. What made everyone flabbergasted was that Chen Hao's sword sheath was made of ironwood, but his sword was also made of ironwood. Ironwood was incomparably hard, comparable to steel. However, it was still made of wood. No matter how hard or sharp it was still limited. Under normal circumstances, ironwood swords were only used by the disciples of the family when they were practicing their swordsmanship to avoid unnecessary injuries. However, the sword that Chen Hao carried on his back was actually an ironwood sword. This was out of everyone's expectations. However, this ironwood sword seemed to have an unusual aura in everyone's eyes. The body of the sword was as smooth as jade, faintly emitting a metallic luster. There was not the slightest flaw. Even the hilt was the same. There was no blade and the tip of the sword was smooth. However, the feeling that it gave off was something that no one had ever seen before. "Prepare to die." This. Just as Dongfang Zhan finished his sentence, his body extended and like a wisp of green smoke, he appeared 3 meters away from Chen Hao. The treasured sword in his hand shook violently. In an instant, rays of resplendent dense brown sword radiance burst out as he thrust his sword forward. So fast. Waves of exclamations erupted from the crowd. Ding 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 ding. However, what was even more shocking was yet to come. A series of dense metal clashing sounds suddenly rang out. Sword radiance shot out in all directions, blocking Chen Hao and Dongfang Zhan's flashing figures. Dongfang Zhan was originally an expert swordsman. Speed was his foundation. The same sword technique in his hands would definitely be more powerful. This was not something that Dongfang Ying and Dongfang Jie could compare to. Even Dongfang Jun was not as good as him in this aspect. Therefore, when Dongfang Ying and Dongfang Jie had their throats slit by Chen Hao's fast sword, He was looking forward to competing with Chen Hao to see whose sword was faster. Therefore, the moment he entered the arena, he used his peak level 9 sword technique, Lightning Sword, which he had cultivated to perfection. Boom boom. The two of them tossed and turned, advancing and retreating, forcing the crowd to also move back and forth on the huge field. Such an exciting collision of sword techniques caused some of the higher-grade experts and even the martial emperors to suck in a breath of cold air. What powerful talent in the way of the sword! Although their cultivations are not high, their sword techniques are actually so exquisite. This Dongfang Zhan was extremely shocked. Originally, he had wanted to use his fast sword, which he was proud of, to injure his opponent severely. However, he did not expect that Chen Hao, who was only holding an ironwood sword, was not the slightest bit slower than him. In fact, Chen Hao was even faster than him. One had to know that he had attacked first, while Chen Hao had defended himself from behind. One had taken the initiative, while the other had been passive. These were two completely different concepts. However, Chen Hao had blocked all of his sword techniques without missing a single one. With such a reaction and speed, Dongfang Zhan did not dare to be careless anymore. He suddenly shouted loudly and released all of his violent origin energy of a peak level 6 martial emperor. The sword pierced out as if it was tearing the void. The brilliant sword light carried an unparalleled sharpness and pressure as it enveloped Chen Hao. Chen Hao's pupils suddenly contracted. Even he did not expect that Dongfang Zhan, a level 6 martial emperor, would be so powerful. Originally, he, who had advanced to the peak of level 4 martial emperor, did not plan to use his mental energy. After all, with his physical body's talent, he had the powerful ability to challenge those of a higher grade just by relying on his cultivation. However, at this moment, Chen Hao knew that if he did not use his mental energy, he would be the one to lose. The brilliant origin energy of the ironwood sword suddenly pulsed in an extremely strange manner. Its color did not change in the slightest. In the eyes of the spectating experts, they only thought that Chen Hao was temporarily taking a breath. However, P.S. First update. Please guarantee a minimum monthly vote. Chapter 97. Without any warning, the moment the ironwood sword in Chen Hao's hand touched the tip of Dongfang Zhan's sword, it exploded. Chen Hao's figure strangely dodged to the left. Boom boom boom. Ah! The fragments of the ironwood sword were like incomparably sharp hidden weapons. They bombarded Dongfang Zhan's protective aura like locusts, causing a dense explosion. 3 of the larger fragments contained extremely condensed origin energy and broke through Dongfang Zhan's protective aura. One fragment neatly pierced Dongfang Zhan's wrist that was holding the sword, while the other 2 fragments directly bombarded his knees. Dongfang Zhan screamed miserably. His sword slipped out of his hand, and he lost control of his legs. His body that was charging forward suddenly fell to the ground like a dog eating shit. Moreover, under the dumbfounded gazes of everyone, he tumbled for a distance of 30 meters before curling up on the ground like a pile of mud. Second brother! Dongfang Ying cried out in horror. She could not believe what she had just seen. This is too vicious, isn't it? No wonder he used the ironwood sword. What do you know? If you have the ability, try shattering the ironwood sword. This guy called Chen Hao's origin energy is extremely terrifying. It is definitely several times more powerful than his cultivation base. Chen Hao snorted coldly. Without looking at Dongfang Zhan, who was struggling to stand up, he suddenly grabbed the sword that had slipped out of Dongfang Zhan's hand. A claw formed by origin energy whizzed out. What surprised everyone was that the sword actually flew directly into Chen Hao's hand from a distance of several feet. Buzz. The moment the sword entered Chen Hao's hand, it let out a clear buzz. Chen Hao waved the sword and pointed it at Dongfang Ying, who was the only one who was still intact. His voice was calm but filled with a sense of arrogance. It's your turn. Dongfang Ying was both embarrassed and angry. However, under Chen Hao's awe-inspiring aura, she did not dare to face him head-on. Instead, she was so frightened that she took a step back. Ha! What a good-for-nothing. At this moment, a strange laughter suddenly came from the crowd, and a figure stepped out from the crowd, full of contempt and disdain. The disciples of the Dongfang family have always challenged people above their level. You three are really mutants? You actually let people succeed in challenging people above their level. As expected, those who follow Dongfang Jun are getting worse and worse. Dongfang Zhan, you are at least a peak 6th-stage martial monarch, right? Isn't he known as the fastest sword user in the younger generation of the Dongfang family? I think it's more appropriate to call you the fastest spear. You've only taken 2 shots and you've already withered. You've really brought shame to our Dongfang family. Hearing this person's words, Dongfang Zhan and the other two's expressions changed. Especially Dongfang Zhan, who had been heavily injured by Chen Hao. His pale face turned into the color of a pig's liver, and he almost spat out blood. What about me? Am I wrong? A mere rank 4 martial monarch. The only thing he has is a slightly stronger physical body. It seems that his control over his origin energy is pretty good as well. However, how could a rank 6 martial monarch like you not be able to deal with someone like him? He was simply a pig. If he followed a pig, he would become a pig. If you had already pledged your allegiance to me, how could you be so weak? Dongfang Jian, what do you mean? Dongfang Zhan trembled as he stood up. He angrily stared at the person who had come. The person who had come was none other than the Dongfang family's disciple, Dongfang Jian, the head disciple of the fierce Sun Hall. What do I mean? What can this young master mean? Dongfang Jian said with a face full of ridicule. At the same time, he looked at Chen Hao and said, Brat, if you have the guts, then defeat Dongfang Jun for me. Don't worry, although this young master is the Dongfang family's most talented disciple, and has the most hope of becoming the next patriarch, I will definitely not interfere. Our new show hall will also not allow it. However, it's hard to say for other places or in the future. Of course, if you can defeat Dongfang Jun, this young master will not pursue the responsibility of injuring these trash of the Dongfang family. Chen Hao slightly frowned. This person's aura was extremely powerful. Although he did not deliberately release it, his every movement carried a power that Chen Hao could not contend against. Even if Chen Hao were to reveal all of his trump cards, it would still not be enough. Martial Emperor, and most definitely a high-rank Martial Emperor. This aura was many times more powerful than rank 1 Martial Emperor Zhao Yunfei's. This was what Chen Hao was truly worried about. Although Dongfang Jun, a rank 9 Martial Emperor, gave him enormous pressure, Chen Hao was no longer afraid of him after returning from Xianhuang Ancient City. However, Chen Hao knew very well that the Dongfang family's disciples were not just these 4 new disciples. Every year, the Dongfang family would enter the new show hall. If he were to be too ruthless towards Dongfang Jun and them, it would likely affect all of them. The current Chen Hao did not have the ability to do so. Thus, even in the battle earlier, he had held back and did not attack ruthlessly. Funny, the most hope of becoming the next patriarch? Dongfang Jian, don't forget that our eldest Dongfang Jun is the son of the current patriarch. His aunt is even an inner court disciple of a super sect. What qualifications do you have to compete? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because your cultivation is high. Otherwise, you will suffer in the future. Before Chen Hao could say anything, Dongfang Zhan angrily said. Dongfang Jian's ridiculing expression immediately became extremely sinister. It was clear that Dongfang Zhan had touched his sore spot. Originally, his talent was undoubtedly the most dazzling new star in the Dongfang family. He was also the most competitive candidate for the next patriarch of the Dongfang family. No one could match him. However, Dongfang Jun, who had once been an ordinary person, had displayed astonishing talent after his aunt, who was an inner disciple of a super sect, had returned to her family. Even he was inferior to Dongfang Jun hatred. How could he not hate him? He hated that his father was not the patriarch. He hated that his aunt was not an expert of a super sect. He hated that Dongfang Jun, who was originally mediocre, became a genius because of his birth. Very good, Dongfang Zhan. You are merely Dongfang Jun's dog. You actually dare to bite me? When the family test begins, you better not meet me. Otherwise, you can just wait to become trash. You. Dongfang Zhan's complexion immediately turned deathly pale. He felt that he was too impulsive. The family test was not a simple competition. There was no chance to surrender even if one wanted to. And now he had angered Dongfang Jian. If he were to really meet Dongfang Jian, boy, remember my words. Although they are trash and dogs of the Dongfang family, they are not people that you can defeat. If you are able to defeat Dongfang Jun in the year-end ranking battle, I will not bother about it anymore. Otherwise, you will know that even a dog of the Dongfang family is not someone that you can provoke. Dongfang Jian no longer paid attention to Dongfang Zhan and the others. He suddenly looked at Chen Hao and said. His sharp gaze was like two sharp swords. It caused the hearts of the surrounding people to tremble, much less Chen Hao who bore the brunt of his gaze. After saying those words, Dongfang Jian flicked his sleeve and left. The instant he turned around, he casually grabbed at Chen Hao. The sword that Chen Hao had just obtained flew out unstoppably. With a poo sound, it was as fast as lightning. It stuck close to Dongfang Zhan's scalp and pierced into the hard rock ground in front of him. So powerful! Dongfang Jian is said to be the most talented disciple of the three great families' younger generation. Sure enough, his reputation is well-deserved. The strength. I'm afraid that he is above rank 7 Martial Emperor? Too powerful. Peak rank 8 Martial Emperor. The head disciple of the fierce Sun Hall. Originally, he was the disciple that had the most hope of obtaining the position of the Dongfang family's family head. However, because of Dongfang Jun, things have changed. Although Dongfang Jun, who is several years younger than him, is currently weaker than him, he will likely surpass him in a few years. You all heard what I said earlier. Dongfang Jun's father is the Dongfang family's family head. His aunt is an expert from a super sect. She is a legendary existence. It is said that Dongfang Jun was originally very mediocre. However, his aunt used some sort of profound technique to forcibly raise his cultivation talent by several levels. Even Dongfang Jian is inferior to him. I'm afraid that the Dongfang family's family head will fall into Dongfang Jun's hands in the future. No wonder Dongfang Jian's tone was like Dongfang Jun's enemy. So that's the case. Some of the experienced and knowledgeable disciples in the crowd started to discuss. Dongfang Jian's appearance had diluted the shock that Chen Hao brought to them by a lot. At this moment, Chen Hao was tightly clenching his teeth. His body was slightly trembling. His gaze was fixed on his hand that was dripping with blood. However, his heart was in a perilous situation. Ever since their souls had fused, even though Chen Hao was still completely focused on his cultivation and had never truly relaxed, only at this moment did he truly understand that after losing Xiao Jihan, who had once brought him enormous pressure, the current him had unknowingly birthed a trace of arrogance from the depths of his heart. A trace of a self-mocking smile gradually appeared on Chen Hao's face. There was no hatred, no humiliation. There was only a lump of flame, a burning flame. Ignoring the three trash that had completely lost their will to fight, Chen Hao, under the gazes of the crowd, did not care about his hand that was still bleeding. His footwork was steady and his figure was as straight as a sword as he walked toward the mission issuance hall. Dongfang Jian's casual grab had snatched away the treasured sword in his hand. Furthermore, it had even shattered his hand. However, he was thankful to Dongfang Jian. That was because Dongfang Jian had given him a warning. Dongfang Jian's talent is indeed astonishing. This year's year-end competition should be even more exciting. In Fierce Sun Hall's Dongfang Jian, Cold Moon Hall's by Li Shi, Cold Star Hall's Zhao Yunlong. Our new show hall's eldest disciple should be one of the three. For now, it seems that Zhao Yunlong has the greatest hope. However, there is still half a year's time. This Dongfang Jian cannot be underestimated. Unfortunately, there is still a gap between the three of them and Dongfang Ting. I'm afraid that they will not be able to reach the next level. After Chen Hao left, on the top floor of a palace not far away, two extremely powerful old men stared at the dispersing crowd and chatted. These two people were one of the new show hall's hall master and one of the three vice hall masters who had appeared during the hall selection. Yeah, It's truly a pity. In the end, our Zhenyuan kingdom is too small and barren. However, what? It's possible for Dongfang Jun. With his relationship with Dongfang Ting and Dongfang Ting's return 2 years ago, she did not hesitate to use her boundless true origin and top-grade spiritual pills to cleanse Dongfang Jun's body. It can be said that before reaching rank 9 martial emperor, he should not have any obstacles. In just 2 short years, he, who was originally mediocre, rose from rank 4 martial warrior to rank 9 martial emperor. With 5 more years, it's not impossible for him to become a martial saint. Second update. Today's 4th update is 12,000 words. The 3rd update is tomorrow morning, around 8 o'clock. On the first day of publication, please subscribe, monthly vote, recommend, and reward. Please support me. Please give Wushan some encouragement. Please give your guaranteed monthly votes to Wushan. Thank you. Also, thank you for yesterday's rewards and comments from 12 friends: Wine Powder, Passionate Love Carrot, Pyro Omega Delta Omega Sigma, Sakura Dance, Startling Images in Dreams, Dreaming Already Here, Drunk in the Wind, A Dream of Old Scenery, Farewell to Maple Night, Jade Tree Blossoms, Endless Stream, Clear Stream of Rice Wine. Chapter 98. Please guarantee the monthly tickets and subscriptions. Thank you. Sigh. The hall master shook his head. He frowned and said, although it would be good to be able to reach that level, a single Dongfang Ting has already caused the Dongfang family to be like this. If another Dongfang Jun were to appear, I'm afraid that even the imperial family would not be able to contain the Dongfang family. That's true. The Dongfang family is truly... Hallmaster, how is that little guy called Qin Hao from earlier? He looks 16 or 17 years old, but is actually only 13 years old. Huang Qi thinks very highly of him. I also feel that there is a lot of hope. The vice hallmaster said. Huang Qi also told me that he still needs more time to observe that boy. Although it is rare to have a constitution that cultivates both martial and intent, it might not be a good thing. Judging from his appearance, he should have chosen to major in martial arts. That is quite wise. To be able to become a rank 4 martial monarch at the age of 13 and possess such battle power, he could definitely be considered an extremely rare genius. He is not inferior to Dongfang Jian, Bai Lishi and Zhao Yunlong. If he can become a rank 6 martial emperor within 2 years, then there is hope. If not, he can at most reach the level of Dongfang Jian, Bai Lishi and Bai Lishi. After all, after becoming a martial emperor, he could be stuck at every bottleneck for a year or even longer. The hall master shook his head and said, Hall master, you might not know this. Oh? The hall master frowned. What is it? The star-shaking fist. That little guy has already cultivated it to the pinnacle. The vice hall master said. I can see that. Although the remnant star-shaking fist is extremely difficult to comprehend, there are several people in our new show hall who have cultivated it to the pinnacle. It is not strange. As the great hallmaster, you might not have the energy to care about such trivial matters. You probably don't know that this little guy has only borrowed the star-shaking fist for 2 months, right? What? The new show hallmaster was clearly shocked. He said, You're saying that this little guy only used 2 months to cultivate the remnant star-shaking fist to the pinnacle? That's right. Chen Hao had no idea that because of Huang Qi he had already entered the new show hall's upper echelon's line of sight. Chen Hao. Senior Fong, why have you come back? When Chen Hao had just walked a short distance into the mission hall, he was surprised to see Fong Qing and a few people chasing after him. I didn't go far before I heard that someone was challenging me. I didn't expect it to be you. Fong Qing's eyes, which seemed to be shrouded in smoke, said with a trace of surprise at this moment, Your combat power is so strong. Is it serious? Chen Hao shook his head slightly and said, It's just a superficial wound. It doesn't matter. Why don't you join us for a quest? We accepted a multiplayer mission. Besides, this is your first time doing a mission, so it's inevitable that you won't be familiar with many things. Why don't you take this mission as well? If something happens, we can take care of each other. Fong Qing stated her purpose. Originally, Fong Qing was quite appreciative of her grandfather when he mentioned Chen Hao. Therefore, when she met Chen Hao, she expressed her goodwill. But that was all. After all, there was still quite the gap between Chen Hao's strength and her. But earlier, Chen Hao's complete victory over Dong Fangzhan caused Fong Qing to be shocked. Only then did she truly have the intention to rope him in. "What's the rank? What's the mission?" Chen Hao asked. The strength of Fong Qing and the others had already been investigated by Chen Hao with his sharp soul perception. Fong Qing and the other youth were intent, and should be the two strongest people in their team. Although it was difficult to see through intent after they restrained their auras, Chen Hao could determine that the two of them should have reached the 8th stage Intent Emperor realm. The other 2 men and 1 woman were all martial artists, 7th stage martial emperors. There's no rank. It's a special mission to find ruins. Excavate ruins? Yes, the ruins that our new show hall's disciples train in, like the Xianhuang ancient city that you went to last time, were mostly discovered through this kind of mission. If you can find the entrance to the ruins, the reward will be very generous. However, the probability of finding it is very low, so there's basically no need to consider the reward. But there are many disciples who accept this kind of mission. Fong Qing paused for a moment and continued, "First, this kind of mission doesn't require much strength. As long as you can resist the demonic beasts in the area, you can accept it. Also, whether you can find the entrance to the ruins or not has little to do with strength. The most important thing is your own luck and opportunity. So, many people want to try their luck. Second, you can see the strength of the disciples of other countries. Usually, the genius disciples of the neighboring countries will also participate in this kind of mission. So, this kind of mission also has a lot of danger. Of course, as long as you avoid the disciples of other countries and don't have any conflicts, there won't be much danger. Are you going or not? If you go, we'll wait for you. If not, we'll set off. I'll think about it. Senior sister, don't wait for me. Go first. If you can't find a suitable mission, I'll catch up with you." Chen Hao seemed to be a little hesitant. "But then we'll go first. Remember, don't accept missions that are too advanced. First, do simple missions to familiarize yourself." "Yes, thank you, senior sister." After bidding farewell to Fong Qing and the others, Chen Hao's eyes shone with a bright light. His figure flashed and he quickly went to the mission hall. After a while, he found the mission to find ruins on the level 19 special mission board. Location: Magic Cloud Mountain. Jinyuan Kingdom, Deqian Kingdom, Jingyun Kingdom, and Dedian Kingdom. Mission time: the aura of ruins is expected to appear frequently within 2 months. Mission reward: cultivate in the Spirit Gathering Cave in the new show hall for half a year. Choose any 3 spiritual level unique skills from the new show hall, 1 intermediate storage ring, 10 level 8 spiritual medicine, 1,000 level 7 spiritual medicine, and 10,000 level 6 spiritual medicine. Shoo, seeing the rewards, Chen Hao gasped. Any one of the rewards was extremely shocking. When he arrived at the new show hall in the Spirit Gathering Cave, Chen Hao already knew that only the chief disciple of the 3 halls was qualified to cultivate in the Spirit Gathering Cave for a month. The chief disciple of the intermediate disciples could cultivate in the Spirit Gathering Cave for 2 months, the chief disciple of the advanced disciples could cultivate in the Spirit Gathering Cave for 3 months, and the chief disciple of the new show hall for half a year. This was equivalent to becoming the chief disciple of New Excellence Hall and receiving a huge reward. As for the spiritual level unique skills, it was beyond the range of level 1 to level 9, and he could choose any 3. The worst rewards were the intermediate storage ring and spiritual medicine. But even these 2 items were very attractive to Chen Hao. Of course, Chen Hao was clearly aware that this assignment required extremely great fortune and karmic luck, and obtaining it was absolutely not a simple matter. Otherwise, the rewards would not be so generous. Don't get your hopes up. Most relics are left behind by super experts, and they have extremely powerful seals. Although I have an extraordinary sense for spiritual treasures, I can't pass through these seals that contain the supreme laws of the world. This is a great opportunity and great luck left behind by an ancient expert. Only those who have this kind of opportunity and luck can find it. However, the Demon Cloud mountain range runs through several big countries. There are countless spiritual herbs and demonic beasts. You can go in and cultivate. At this moment, the treasure-hunting sword spirit said in Chen Hao's mind. Let's try my luck. The aura of the relics should appear at a fixed time every year, but no one has found the entrance. Of course, it's not that simple. If I'm lucky enough to find it, that would be the best. It doesn't matter if I can't find it. The Demon Cloud Mountain itself is very suitable for training, and I can also meet the genius disciples of other countries. Chen Hao said in his mind. As he spoke, he walked to the window to accept the task. Soon, he received the detailed information of the task and a special antique token. What surprised Chen Hao was that this token turned out to be a magical communication rune. As long as he poured his yuan qi into it, the message could be sent back to the Royal New Show Hall at the fastest speed. It was very precious, and only this kind of special task would be issued. After Chen Hao accepted the task, he returned to the dormitory again because of the time limit of the task. Knock, 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 knock. Chen Hao went directly to Helian Wuzi's door and knocked according to the way he and Moue had agreed on. Hearing the rhythm of the knocking, Helian Wuzi would know that it was Chen Hao. Walala, wait! The sound of water splashing and Helian Wuzi's voice came from the room. Others might not be able to hear it, but Chen Hao's extraordinary hearing could hear it clearly. This girl is taking a bath? Chen Hao frowned slightly, shook his head, and threw away the unhealthy thoughts in his mind. It was human nature to eat and lust. Chen Hao originally had the heart of an adult man, and now as he grew older, his body matured day by day. Facing a stunning girl like Helian Wuzi, it was normal to have some kind of desire. However, the current Chen Hao directly erased any of his thoughts. The land of warmth, the tomb of heroes. He understood this logic. Squeak. A moment later, Helian Wuzi's hair was dripping wet, like a lotus flower emerging from the water. Her beautiful little face carried a trace of redness after coming out of the bath. She was radiant and her whole body emitted a faint virgin fragrance as she appeared in front of Chen Hao. Why are you back? Helian Wuzi asked a little surprised. I took a mission, and it may take 3 months to go back and forth, so I came back to tell you. These 205 element spirit pills, 100 of which are of the metal attribute, are for Xiaomo to refine and comprehend. 100 of which are of the mist attribute derived from the water attribute. You can refine and comprehend it yourself. If I don't come back, you can cultivate in seclusion, don't take on missions. Understand? Oh, there are still many 5-element spirit pills. After I go out, I will go to the Chamber of Commerce in the Great Thousand City to exchange for some elixirs. By the way, I will see if I can help you buy a storage ring. Tell Xiaomo. I'm leaving. Chen Hao just glanced at Helian Wuzi indifferently, then turned and left. The moment he turned, he said lightly, next time, no matter who it is, remember to put on clothes before opening the door. I'm talking about underwear. Underwear? Helian Wuzi was slightly stunned. She looked down at her clothes, but then her little face became hot. She also heard Chen Hao knocking on the door and thought it was urgent, so she put on her clothes at the fastest speed and came out. She didn't think about anything else at all, but who would have thought that even she could see 2 clearly protruding little dots? How could they be exposed? When did they become so big? When she thought of being seen by Chen Hao and being scolded, she was so angry that her delicate body trembled. She waved her little fists at Chen Hao's back and scolded, "You bastard!" Third update, looking for guaranteed monthly votes and subscriptions. The new book is very needed to be put on the shelves. Please, everyone, Wushan will write with all his might. There is still around 7 o'clock in the evening. Fourth update. Calm to vote for recommendation and monthly votes. Chapter 99. Under Huang Qi's stunned gaze, Chen Hao returned the 4 secret manuals and headed straight for the exit of the Royal New Show Hall. Walking out of the Imperial family's New Excellence Hall's main door, a gray fog once again appeared in front of his eyes. The main door was clearly beside him, but he could no longer catch a glimpse of its shadow. Traces of a mysterious aura still filled the fog. Even though it was his second time seeing it, Chen Hao was still shocked. After confirming the direction, Chen Hao's figure flashed and disappeared into the fog at lightning speed. The sky was high for the birds to fly, and the sea was wide for the fish to swim. Chen Hao, who walked out of the Royal New Show Hall alone, was like a bird that had been released from its cage. He no longer had any scruples. His figure was as fast as lightning as he advanced through the barren mountain range in the forbidden area. Along the way, many disciples who went out on missions were overtaken by him. After a few hours, he finally arrived at the official road. To reach the destination, I have to pass through nearly half of the Jinyuan Kingdom, which is nearly 10,000 kilometers. At my current speed, I should be able to reach it in about 10 days. I'm not in a hurry. I'll go to the Great Thousand City and prepare first. Chen Hao thought to himself as he sensed the vigorous Yuan Qi and the boundless mental strength in his mind. According to the mission information, the aura of the relic would appear about 20 days later. If there were no accidents along the way, he would definitely be able to make it in time. It didn't matter even if he was a few days late. After all, the aura of the relic would appear for 2 months. Now, Chen Hao should be going out alone for the first time, so he needed to prepare some things. Brother Chen? Hello. As Chen Hao ran on the official road and quickly approached the Great Thousand City, 2 youths, 1 male and 1 female, were walking in front of Chen Hao. They seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll, but their speed was extremely fast. However, they were obviously not as fast as Chen Hao. Just as Chen Hao was about to pass by the 2 of them, one of the youths suddenly spoke up. Hello. Chen Hao slowed down and cupped his fists slightly. Chen Hao had a deep impression of these 2 people. They were the personal disciples of some big shot, and their cultivations were lower than the Emperor realm. They were the new disciples of Cold Moon Hall, Qin Si and Xiao He. Are you going to do missions as well? Xiao He smiled and said, originally, when we were advancing to Martial Monarch, we wanted to form a team with the 3 of you. But you guys often don't leave the house, so we don't want to disturb you. Brother Qin, what level of mission did you take? Xiao He and Qin Si were both 15 years old. Other than Chen Hao, they were probably the 2 youngest people in the new show hall. However, the way they spoke and acted revealed a sense of maturity. There's nothing we can do. We're too weak. We can only cultivate with all our might. A few senior brothers and senior sisters that I know have accepted a special mission to search for ruins and are chasing after them. By the way, Brother Xiao, I wonder if you are familiar with the Great Thousand City? Chen Hao said with some reservations. He had deliberately left Fong Qing aside, so naturally he did not want to associate with others. He said this just in case. A mission to find the ruins? We're the same. Of course, we're familiar with the Great Thousand City. We grew up in the Great Thousand City. The quiet girl, Chen Hao, seemed to be quite curious about Chen Hao. She said, "What's the matter?" "I want to buy a better sword and a fasting pill." Chen Hao said, "If that's the case, then go directly to the Luyun Chamber of Commerce. You'll definitely find something you like." The Luyun Chamber of Commerce is the largest cultivator chamber of commerce led by the royal family of the Jinyuan Kingdom and jointly established by many major forces. There's an auction every other day. But thank you very much. I'll go first. I still have to chase after them. Okay, but the 2 of them said. Although they did not know who Chen Hao's senior brothers and senior sisters were, they could clearly feel that Chen Hao did not have any intention of going with them. Of course, they did not want to go with Chen Hao either. Searching for ruins was not as dangerous as exploring the Xianhuang ruins. Their purpose was just to try their luck and gain experience. Chen Hao cupped his fists before his figure suddenly sped up like a wisp of smoke, and it wasn't long before he vanished from their fields of vision. Looking at Chen Hao's disappearing figure, Xiao He smiled slightly and said, "This Chen Hao's strength has increased quite quickly. It's said that he has already reached the peak of 4th grade martial monarch in Xianhuang Ancient City and has the battle strength of a 5th grade martial monarch." "Yeah, I don't think he's weaker than us." Qin Si said, "We have to work hard too. We're all direct disciples. It'll be embarrassing if we lose, okay? Don't worry, we won't be weaker than him." The 2 of them clearly did not know that Chen Hao had already defeated Dong Fangzhan. Otherwise, they would not have said that. Great Thousand City, the Luyun Chamber of Commerce was located in the most prosperous area of the city center. It was dazzling and majestic. Dense qi shrouded the surroundings of the huge palace. It was obvious that an extremely powerful restriction had been set up. There were all kinds of people coming in and out. Some of them were dressed like rich people, some were ordinary people, and there were even more people who wore bamboo hats to cover themselves up. However, without exception, they all emitted a powerful aura. They were obviously cultivators. After entering the entrance, there was a huge palace. This was the reception center of the Luyun Chamber of Commerce. In the luxurious and spacious hall, there were beautiful attendants who were dressed elegantly and gracefully. When they saw the guests coming in, they would welcome them. Their sense of service was not inferior to that of a modern city. What was far superior was that these young girls were all cultivators. Moreover, they were all martial masters. At this moment, a figure slowly walked over. He was dressed in black and wore a black bamboo hat. His figure was not tall, but the aura he emitted was clearly that of a martial monarch expert. "Sir, is there anything I can help you with?" An attendant's eyes revealed a trace of surprise and joy. He went up to welcome him, bowed slightly, and said respectfully. The other attendants were slightly envious. It was not that this person was very strong. Based on his aura, they could guess that this person should be a martial monarch expert. This alone was not a big deal. After all, the Luyun Chamber of Commerce was the largest chamber of commerce in the Jinyuan Kingdom. They saw countless martial monarchs in a day. There were even many martial monarchs. However, this person was very young. Observing people's expressions was a necessary quality for these attendants. Although this person covered up very well, they could be sure from his exposed hands and body shape. Such a young martial monarch must have a very high status. To be able to receive such a person, it was very likely that they would be able to make a big deal. "Do you sell storage rings here?" the person asked directly. His voice was indeed very young. This person was none other than Qin Hao in disguise. After all, he needed a lot of pills. For him who had already obtained the 5-element spiritual root, the 5-element spiritual pill could only be treated as an ordinary pill. That would be too wasteful. It was more cost-effective to exchange it for ordinary spiritual herbs. He also bought 3 more storage rings. He gave one each to Helian Wuzi and Mo Yui, and used the remaining one for himself. Although he did not need it, he needed to use it to hide his identity. Before he was strong enough, he could not expose the fact that he had obtained the Heaven and Earth Ring and the 5 spiritual swords. He did not have the background of the 3 great clans, so he could only advance step by step. "Storage rings?" Just. "Sir, please come in. I'll take you to see the manager. Storage rings are more valuable things," the young girl said with a hint of surprise. Chen Hao replied. Passing through the luxurious hall, Chen Hao walked into the Chamber of Commerce under the guidance of the young female attendant. A dazzling array of weapons, ores, and some unknown strange items were placed on the crystal counters. Countless people were choosing among them. Such popularity was indeed not something an ordinary chamber of commerce could compare to. Chen Hao followed the attendant and looked around to see if there was anything that interested him. The treasure-hunting sword spirit in his mind also sensed the aura around him. "Sir, please wait here for a moment. I'll call the manager." Chen Hao replied and casually browsed through the weapons placed beside him. A few flying daggers fell into Chen Hao's eyes. "Sir, what do you need?" The attendant at the counter saw Chen Hao's gaze and immediately said respectfully, "Is this a flying dagger? You can take a look. It's made by a master craftsman. The material is iron essence that has been tempered thousands of times. It's hard and extremely sharp. The price is also moderate. It only costs 10 level 6 spiritual herbs or elixirs." "So expensive?" Chen Hao took the flying dagger from the attendant and said with a little surprise. Little brother, this is not expensive. The items in our Luyun Chamber of Commerce are not ordinary items. I guarantee that you will get your money's worth." The flying dagger was as thin as a cicada's wing and exuded a cold aura. Purely based on the feeling, It was indeed much better than the small dagger that his father had given him. Moreover, it was more suitable as a hidden weapon. Wow! Just as Chen Hao was holding the flying dagger and sizing it up, the surrounding crowd suddenly became restless. Chen Hao also hurriedly turned his head to look. "Hello, Director Yun. Director Yun, you're getting more and more beautiful." A stunning figure appeared in front of Chen Hao's eyes. Wearing a purple long dress, her skin was whiter than snow. Her entire body exuded a graceful and luxurious luster. The slightly low neckline made her exposed jade-like neck look particularly attractive. The fitting long dress showed off her graceful and enchanting exquisite figure. Her slender waist was like a swaying willow branch, oval face, willow leaf eyebrows, red phoenix eyes, cherry lips. Her exquisite appearance revealed a graceful and luxurious elegance. It also contained a natural charm. Purely looking at this woman's appearance, she was at most 20 years old. However, her extremely enchanting figure and dressing exuded a more mature charm. She did not have the slightest bit of youthfulness of a young girl. The woman smiled faintly and frequently nodded in response to the greetings of the crowd. She seemed to be used to the burning gazes. Following a young female attendant, she walked straight towards Chen Hao. "Sir, this is our Director Yun." When the young female attendant brought the woman to Chen Hao's side, she introduced her. Chen Hao's eyes, which were hidden behind the veil, narrowed slightly. Even he did not expect that the so-called director would be such an enchanting woman. In his heart, he could not help but admire the business acumen of the Luyun Chamber of Commerce. With such a stunning woman, most men would be too embarrassed to bargain. They would even puff themselves up at their own cost. Fourth update, 12,000 plus outburst has ended. Brothers and sisters, please support and subscribe. Those who have guaranteed monthly votes, please also vote for Dark Mountain. The new book on the shelves needs everyone's encouragement. Chapter 100. Thank you to Xiao Feng Sendrizzle for 100,000 coins to promote to Ao Tion's Alliance Master. Summers Yu Small Copy for 100,000 coins to promote to Alliance Master. Shizhu Female Sign Girl for 100,000 coins to promote to Alliance Master. Thank you to Tian, Jibei Chenfeng, Air Shi, Swaying Drunken Red, and Cold Moon Sungsong for 10,000 coins. Thank you to GeoMO for 5,888 coins and monthly votes. Thank you to Chuan Liang Wuzi, Shenzai Xie Qin, Qin Lu, Passionate Love Kama, Luoshi? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hello. Chen Hao greeted her indifferently. The woman smiled slightly, and her gaze wavered imperceptibly. Then, the smile on her face deepened. "Hello, shall we talk in the VIP room?" "Okay. I'll take all of these throwing knives. Can I take them away first?" "Of course." Hearing Chen Hao's words, the woman looked at the attendant behind the counter and smiled. "Help this gentleman put them away." Under many burning gazes, Chen Hao took the 9 flying knives and walked side by side with the woman into the VIP room. After both of them sat down, Chen Hao took the 9 flying knives. The woman smiled sweetly and said, "You sound very young. It's rare to be promoted to Martial Emperor at such a young age. If I'm not wrong, you should be a disciple of the Royal New Show Hall, right?" "HM?" The woman's first sentence made Chen Hao frown. Don't worry. Our Luyun Chamber of Commerce is confidential to all customers. You should know that we are the royal family, which is an official organization. The New Show Hall is not a secret to our Luyun Chamber of Commerce. The disciples of the New Show Hall are also one of our main customers. My name is Yunfian, one of the directors of the Luyun Chamber of Commerce. It's nice to meet you. Yun Fei Yan's beautiful eyes stared at Chen Hao as she spoke. A faint fragrance of orchids wafted around her body, and it seemed to contain a trace of strange fluctuations. This was not some kind of seduction skill, but Yunfian's innate charm. If it was an ordinary man in close contact with her, he would have more or less been subdued by her charm. However, Chen Hao, who was staring at this enchanting and seductive beauty through the veil, curled his lips and said straightforwardly, "I'm sorry, Director Yun. Since I came out like this, I naturally don't want to reveal my identity. Let's get down to business. I need a storage ring. Hearing Chen Hao's words, Yun Fei Yen was slightly taken aback, but then she smiled sweetly and said, "It's all right. We have storage rings here, but they are all low and medium-grade storage rings. High-grade storage rings will only appear during the auction. Can you introduce it to me in detail? Capacity, price, etc. I haven't seen a storage ring before." Chen Hao asked. Of course. A low-level storage ring is 5 feet square. It's enough to store ordinary weapons and supplies. The price is 1,000 level 6 spirit pills. A middle-level storage ring is 10 feet square. The price is 20,000 level 6 spirit pills. A high-level storage ring is 3 feet square and above. It's not fixed. The bigger the space, the higher the price. So expensive? Chen Hao said in surprise. This is the special price given by the disciples of the new show hall. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to buy it at such a low price. Yun Fian said, "Which one do you want? If it's a low-level or middle-level storage ring, you can buy it now. If it's a high-level storage ring, you have to wait for the auction. It's not certain when it will be available. I want a low-level storage ring. I want 3. Can you give me a discount?" Chen Hao didn't care about the beauty's identity and bargained. Little brother, I've said that the Luyun Chamber of Commerce has always sold the storage rings at the lowest price for the disciples of the Royal New Show Hall. You will all be important figures in the Jinyuan Kingdom in the future. How can we ask for a high price from you? Okay, can I buy it with this kind of spirit pills? Even though Chen Hao knew that a storage ring would be expensive, he didn't expect it to be so expensive. A low-level storage ring actually cost 1,000 level 6 spirit pills. What did 1,000 level 6 spirit pills mean? Even all the spirit pills in the Shao family wouldn't be enough. Yun Fian looked at the spirit pills in Chen Hao's hand and was surprised. 5 element spirit pills? You are buying with this? Is there a problem? No problem. Of course, there's no problem. Yun Fian hurriedly said, but she was very surprised. The Luyun Chamber of Commerce had learned about the Royal New Show Hall in Xianhuang Ancient City as soon as possible. At this moment, the Chamber of Commerce's top executives had already gone to the Royal New Show Hall to see if they could buy a part of it. How do you calculate it? One is worth several level 6 spirit pills? Our new show hall's ratio is 1 to 10. Since you know about the new show hall, you should also know that it's part of my obligation to exchange in the new show hall. I can also get a reward corresponding to the level of benefits. This isn't something that can be measured with spirit pills. Don't worry. I'll give you a satisfactory price. 130. One 5-element spirit pill is worth 30 level 6 spirit pills. These are 205-element spirit pills, which is equivalent to 6,000 level 6 spirit pills. After deducting 3,000 from the 3 storage rings, the remaining 3,000 will be deducted from the 9 throwing knives. Help me exchange them for level 7 spirit pills. Chen Hao said straightforwardly. 1 to 30 was better than he had imagined. It seemed that it was indeed as Yun Fian said. The disciples of the Royal New Show Hall were given special treatment here. Therefore, he was too embarrassed to haggle over the price. No problem, hee. How about I give you the throwing knives as a gift? Yun Fian suddenly said with a charming smile, her eyes full of seduction. Chen Hao faintly smiled and said directly, "Is there a condition?" "You're really smart, hee. The condition is very simple. This senior sister just wants to get to know you. There will be more opportunities for cooperation in the future." Yun Fian smiled. Her tone was natural, intimate, but not flattering. Yet, it seemed a bit strange to call herself senior sister. How did she become senior sister? How come she's so close? Yun Fian naturally saw the value of Chen Hao. She knew the details of the mysterious yellow treasure house for the first time. Most of the disciples only got 20 to 35 element spirit pills. But Chen Hao took out 205 element spirit pills. So, how could it be 205 element spirit pills? To be able to get so many spirit pills among the geniuses, he naturally had the ability that ordinary people didn't have. Such a character, if she established a good relationship with him, it would certainly bring her great benefits in the future. As for calling herself senior sister, she naturally had her reasons. Senior sister? With such a beautiful senior sister like you, I naturally have no objection. Don't be surprised. Later, you will understand why I call myself senior sister. Senior sister knows what you want to say. It's just that you don't want the people of the Royal New Show Hall to know that you got so many 5-element spirit pills. You can rest assured that the Chamber of Commerce has its own rules. Any buyer or seller's information will not be disclosed. Of course, even if you don't agree, senior sister also knows who you are. Yunfian interrupted Qin Hao. Her seductive face shone with confidence as she said with a smile. You can guess? Your voice and figure indicate that you're less than 15 years old. And the aura that you're exuding should be at the lower middle level of the emperor level. So, you should be one of the new disciples of the imperial family's new excellence hall. Moreover, you should be a direct disciple. In this batch of personal disciples, your 3 halls have a total of 13 people. Among the 13, there are 4 females, 9 males, and 9 males. Among the 9 males, senior sister knows 5 of them and has never seen the other 4. 2 of them are disciples of Zhang clan, the strongest clan in our Zhenyuan kingdom other than the 3 great clans. Zhang clan's disciples all cultivate the Wild Blade Heart Sutra and can be seen at a glance. They can be eliminated. The remaining 2 were personally selected by Chairman Fang Yuan in Lansong Province's Cloud State County. One is called Moue, and the other is called Qin Hao. Moreover, he took Qin Hao as his disciple. Moue contains a trace of sword intent and never leaves his sword. Qin Hao has a physique with both will and martial arts. You are Qin Hao. And I am Chairman Fang Yuan's personal disciple. Cough cough. Qin Hao was a little dumbfounded. No matter what, he did not expect the enchanting woman in front of him to know the Royal New Show Hall like the back of her hand. It was as if every disciple's name and characteristics were clearly in her mind. He had covered himself up so tightly, but he still could not escape her eyes. Senior sister is right? Junior brother Qin Hao? I'll take the flying dagger, thank you. I'm in a hurry, you should hurry up and help me get the storage ring and spirit pills. Qin Hao shrugged and said a little speechlessly. Since I've received the gift, I should at least show it to senior sister, right? After all, senior sister often goes to the new show hall. Yunfian's lips curled up as she stared at Qin Hao. She was very clear about her charm, but Qin Hao in front of her seemed to turn a blind eye to her beauty. Even though she had guessed it, he did not intend to reveal his true appearance and looked like he was in a hurry to leave. Is that okay? Qin Hao took off his bamboo hat and said. Seeing Qin Hao's handsome face, Yunfian was slightly stunned, but then she stared at Qin Hao and said, Do you hate senior sister? I just don't like women who are too beautiful and too smart. Thank you for the compliment. Senior sister is smart only for outsiders. In the future, if you need anything or want to sell something, remember to come to senior sister. Senior sister will definitely take care of you. Yunfian said with a charming smile, Only 13 years old, you're even smarter than senior sister? Okay, senior sister will prepare it for you. It will be ready soon. This should be the area, right? 13 days later, Qin Hao appeared in a barren mountain forest. He stood at the top of a mountain and stared at the towering mountain in the distance, confirming with the mission map. The Demon Cloud mountain range stretched for tens of thousands of kilometers and ran through several countries. This area was the border area of the 4 great kingdoms, and also the area where the aura of the relic appeared. After bidding farewell to the enchanting senior sister, Qin Hao traveled day and night, and it took him a total of 13 days to arrive. At this moment, he was still wearing a black robe, but he had taken off his bamboo hat. Gazing at the figure in the distance that occasionally drilled into the mountain forest, Qin Hao could basically confirm that this was the edge of the mission area. After confirming the direction, Qin Hao operated the Art of Solitude in the remnant volume of the Art of Longevity to the 3rd level. Immediately, his aura was completely restrained, and he plunged into the barren mountain forest. There were still a few days before the aura of the relic fluctuated, and Qin Hao didn't want to waste time. Moreover, whether or not he could find the relic was just a matter of luck, and Chen Hao didn't have much hope. After all, the treasure-hunting sword spirit had said that most relics were sealed by super experts, and even he couldn't sense the entrance of the relic. This required opportunity and luck. Therefore, Chen Hao's main purpose was to gain experience, and with the help of the treasure-hunting sword spirit, it would be good to harvest some elixirs. However, as Chen Hao went deeper into the core area of the mission area, he didn't sense any demonic beast's aura for 4 hours. Instead, he sensed the aura of many cultivators, as if all the demonic beasts had disappeared into thin air. This was extremely strange for the Demon Cloud Mountain range. P.S. First update. Begging for monthly votes? Begging for subscriptions? I'm really shocked. 23,000 fans, but the subscription rate is not even 21, only 900. I'm very hurt. I beg for those who have the means and the ability to support and subscribe. Wushan can only write 1 chapter in 4 hours, and it only costs a few cents. I beg for everyone's help. Please rest assured, no matter how bad the results are, Wushan will steadily update until the end. An average of 200,000 words per month is achievable. This Wushan will do his best. With all his strength. I only hope that everyone can support and subscribe. Thank you very much. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.